Mayor's Night Out. I apologize for being a few minutes late. I was just attending an event on the other side of Hessville, and I ran real quickly over here. So I want to thank you very much for being here, and I want to thank Erica Robinson, the principal of Hess Elementary School. Thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. I'd also like to thank the assistant principal, Juanita Camacho. Thank you very much. And thank you to Hess for hosting. This is the last Mayor's Night Out of the year. We do them every other month now. So you notice my staff clapped when they heard that. But we want to thank you for coming out tonight. I'm going to start off over here. Leanne Munoz, why don't we go ahead and introduce the department heads.
Owana Miller, Community Development.
Ed Cruza, Hammond Water.
Chris Sacaleras, Legal Aid. Sharon Daniels, Personnel. Donna Muda, Park Department.
Jack Smith, Sewer Maintenance.
Rachel Montes, Hammond Sanitary District.
Jeff Smith, Fire Department.
Heather Gray, City Controller.
Mylon Krasinski, Port Authority.
Courtney Margraf, College Bound.
John Doty, Hammond PD. Mark McLaughlin, Chief of Staff.
Barry Todd McDermott.
Phil Talon, Planning and Development.
Mark Cordich, Engineering.
Brian Poland, City Planning. Kurt Cook, Building.
Deborah Malone, Environmental.
Michelle Felgen, Housing Authority.
Dennis Radowski, United Neighborhoods, Inc. Gary Gleason, Public Works. Kelly Creed, Code Enforcement.
Leanne Munoz, Parks Department.
Oh, hey, look at that. Sorry about that. I was talking to Chief of Staff about very important business. So I want to remind everybody in here, Election Day is Tuesday the 3rd. Please vote by Election Day. I'm not saying who to vote for. I'm saying it's your civic duty. You know, we've been talking about in Indiana the low voter turnout that we've been experiencing across Indiana, Lake County, and in Hammond in particular. When you think about Gary and Hammond, we're two cities with about the same population, and Gary outvotes us every election. There's a lot of reasons for people not to show up on Election Day because they may think this race is over or that race is over. Please just do me a favor, go out and vote. Even if you go and don't vote for anybody, just go vote, okay? You know, all the uncontested candidates like Clerk Golick, I saw you in there, I'm not picking on you. Clerk Golick doesn't have a race. However, his name's on the ballot, and he does work hard so that he sees how many people show up and vote for him. So even if you show up just to vote for Clerk Golick, who's not running against anybody, the bottom line is to show up and vote, okay? I also want to recognize the future. I'm going to be presumptuous and say the future 6th District Councilman, pending the outcome of Tuesday's election, Scott Rakos. Hey, Scott, how's it going? I see County Councilman Dave Ham. Thank you very much, County Councilman Ham. Councilwoman at Large, Janet Venez. As I said earlier, Hammond City Clerk, Robert Golick. I'm scanning quickly. I think I got them all. Did I get all the elected officials? Okay, thank you very much. I want to thank my staff in the mayor's office. Thank you guys very much for putting this event on. If you have any questions, please fill them out over there. And I want to recognize Leanne Munoz. She has taken another position, and this will be her last Mayor's Night Out as Special Events Coordinator. So I wanted to say thank you to Leanne and wish her the best of luck. She's one of our college-bound students, and she rose through the ranks to Special Projects Engineer, Special Events Coordinator, and now she's going off into the private business world. And I want to say thank you to Leanne and congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, we got all the business taken care of. We introduced ourselves. This entire format is off of written questions. So we take a written question. Let's say your question is about streets or, you know, one street in particular or lighting. We would try to stay on topic. So we'll read your question, answer it the best we can. If you have a question that's on that topic, raise your hand and we'll come out to you and we'll try to exhaust that topic, okay? So let's go ahead and get started.
Okay. The first question is for Public Works. I have an accumulation of debris located between my fence and alley. Who can I see about having this debris removed?
Thank you. Okay, before we get to Gary, I want to take this second to remind everybody about an app for your smartphones. I know probably 80% of the people in this room have a smartphone where you can either Android or Apple or a computer you could download it on, but you can download the Hammond 311 app. I would show it to you, but I left my cell phone in my car. The Hammond 311 app is available for free. You download it. There it is, that gentleman right there. It gives you options galore. So in this case, if you had a question about, I have junk out in front of my house, I've called it in, I put it in on 311, nobody's picking it up, you could take a picture of the junk that you put out, and you could send that picture and say, you know, no litter pickup. That'll go straight to Gary's department, and Gary will say, hey, foreman, what's going on here? This complaint has been pending for a long time. Now keep in mind, when you take a picture with your smartphone, it uses the GPS coordinates in your smartphone, so we know exactly where that picture was taken. Okay, if it's graffiti, it goes right to graffiti removal. If it's garbage, it goes straight to Public Works. If it's tall grass, it goes to code enforcement. I think, you know, we're in the process of educating the public, which means we repeat ourselves over and over again, which is what we're supposed to do, to remind all 81,000 people that live in our city that we have this app. Makes life a little bit easier. You don't have to worry about calling the city. You could just put your address in there, take a picture of the stuff, and it goes right to Gary. So I wanted to start off and say that. It's called Hammond 311. It's available for free on the download. Now, Gary, could you address this particular question?
Right. You actually hit it right on the head with the 311. But you also, if you don't want to use it that way, you can call us at Public Works. We have 5 lines. But the best way, if you can use the 311 app, it's actually looked at over the weekends and evenings. There's times that a few weekends ago, there was a cave-in in an alley. Somebody reported at 6 at night. We saw it, we went there and looked, and it actually was a complete cave-in. Sewer had to come out, we had to shut the alley down. So if you do put it on Monday during the day or evening, we are seeing that all through the evening and weekend. So if you choose to use the 311 app, it does work, it's working really well. If you want to call, we're in the book, or you can get any kind of magnets or phone numbers off the back table.
Sorry about that. I was going to go to my IT guy, but I don't see my IT guy here. So I'm just going to tell you, a lot of people use this app. I wanted to give you exact stats. There's literally hundreds, if not thousands pending, hundreds downloaded weekly. It goes right to the applicable department. It works. I've tried it multiple ways. You have a username in there. My username is like, I don't know what it is, but I think it's Mayor Tom, I'll be honest with you. But so usually if I put in a complaint, it gets responded to pretty quickly. But they also have an anonymous function. Like if you wanted to report your neighbor for not mowing their lawn, but you didn't want your neighbor to know you're reporting them, has an ability to use anonymous on there. So I check the system every once in a while. I put in complaints anonymously so that I can make sure that if you do the same thing, you're being taken care of. It works. The way it works is, let's say it's graffiti. You take a picture of graffiti, you send it into graffiti removal, you'll get an email instantaneously from Hammond 311 that says, we got your complaint, okay? You'll get one when graffiti removal gets the complaint. Graffiti removal has your complaint, it should be knocked out within the next couple days. When graffiti removal erases it, they take a picture of the wall afterwards, send you a picture and says, thank you for your complaint, we're going to close the file now. The system works, so works both ways. You can do it under your username or you can do it anonymously. Okay? How about questions? So, and we still take complaints the old-fashioned way, right, Gary?
Yes, we do.
What's the number again?
853-6431.
6431.
Yes. And to reflect what you're saying is, what happens on a regular 311 is it's checked first thing Monday through Friday at 4:30, along, like I said, with the weekends and evenings. The person comes in, goes right to that, and there's actually a stamp that says click on it. That is stamped red, given directly to the foreman that morning. So you can see how fast we get to those. Calling in, we still get to them. The foreman still gets the tickets, but you might call in Monday. He puts it in a file, does it Tuesday or Wednesday. You'll actually hear the man that picked up that stuff. He'll call the radio room and say, I have a click fix, and they'll call the front office and they'll clear it. So you will get an answer to that. Instead of just saying, okay, acknowledge, we'll say that's been picked up and cleared.
Okay, thanks, Gary. C-Click Fix questions, Public Works questions, anything like that? Yes, ma'am.
It's a great app.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Use it all the time.
I do too.
And you get great response too.
Yeah, you do. And you know what? I love having it on me because there's so many times I would see stuff before C-Click Fix, and I'm like, okay, I got to remember when I get back to the office to tell somebody to take care of this. And 50 things happens between that moment and when I get to the office and I forget about it. This is the way I literally stop my car sometimes and take a picture with it and just fire it off. It'll take you 1 minute to make a complaint, and it just fires it right to the appropriate department.
And they do follow through, definitely.
Yeah. Actually, I get a little too many emails from them. It sort of annoys me, but too much information is a good thing.
And I
So-
wonder if it was a good thing for you to do, because I'm sure you'd overwhelm.
Oh my
some
gosh.
stuff. Yeah.
I always say, I jokingly say this, but I know it works because the employees hate it. Because it's total accountability and it keeps us busy. It's literally, Gary, how many quick fixes do you have in the morning? You have dozens, right?
Yes.
I mean, so like in addition to the normal workload Gary would get through the 6431, he wakes up every morning, he's got all these C-click fixes waiting for him as well. So but it's total accountability. And it's digital record, so if we just blow it off and don't pick it up, you're like, hey, I sent you a C-click fix right here.
They've never responded.
Never not responded, right.
They've always responded in
Right.
some way.
What it's not good for, like, Chief Doty, you've only been chief for 2 years now, I apologize. Chief Doty, would you recommend C-click fix for crime, like drug house and stuff like that? That's not really appropriate for that use, right?
We'd rather you just call.
Sorry.
You can call narcotics. We have a tip line directly. We have got a lot of complaints though on that quick
Yes.
with the anonymous feature, and we do follow up. So if your intent is to remain anonymous and you just want to give us basic information, it has worked out okay.
But we're used to anonymity, especially in the police department, right?
Right. So we can guarantee that either way for you. But if you feel this is a better way for you to retain your anonymity, we will still act on the tip.
And I know you and I do a lot of communication. Somebody will send me an anonymous letter saying, hey, there's a drug house here. I see this type of activity. Maybe even have pictures. We always, and then I would usually forward that type of info to you. And you guys always follow this. Sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't, right?
Always. Every tip we get, no matter how it comes in, is resolved in some way.
Right.
There's no complaint we ever get that is just ignored.
Right.
If we have 100, we find some way to look at it, even if it's to have a canine officer go by the house.
Right.
Interdiction, knock on your door. Always do something.
And it doesn't make sense to ignore it because you live in Hammond just like I live in Hammond. If we were ignoring problems, it affects both of us, right?
Right. And so narcotics for sure has 100% accountability on those tips.
Thank you. Kelly Curdy, could you grab the microphone real quick? Kelly's in charge of Hammond Code Enforcement. You get a lot of C-click fixes, right?
A lot of C-click, yes.
You get a lot of anonymity, anonymous requests, right?
Especially. Yes.
Right, because you don't want to be the neighbor that calls up code enforcement on the other neighbor, right?
Exactly. One of the things that's difficult for us is that oftentimes it may lead to a citation or a court case where we have to issue a citation. It takes us a month to get on the docket. So it may seem like it's not being resolved. The inspectors are very good about keeping people informed that, here's where the process is. But it may take a month before we get that clean water or get the inspection done or
That's
follow
usually
up.
frustrating in like April, May, that issue right there,
Absolutely.
right? Because what happens in April, May is we figure out which houses are mowing their grass.
Right.
And usually we find out when it's about 2 feet tall, right? And the neighbors are already pissed. Excuse my language. Sorry, buddy. Mad. Sorry, buddy. Okay. Thanks. He's like, don't worry about it. He's like, right. The neighbors are already mad. We find out when the grass is 2 feet tall. You call code enforcement. Kelly goes out there and nothing happens for a month.
Could be, yes.
And the grass is 3.5 feet tall by the time something's actually done.
Correct.
But that is the legal way we have to do it.
Correct. If we're going to lien the property for the cost of the cutting, paying someone to cut it and the fees that come with that, we have to have that judge's order. We can do it on vacant homes. We can tag them with the green tags, and that's basically a 10-day
So
notice.
the fluorescent green tags,
Yeah, chartreuse.
that is a signal to the neighbors that we're on it, right?
Correct.
If you go by a house with long grass and you see the fluorescent green tag visible on the front door, right around the front window.
Yes, if it's occupied home, you may tag the garbage can. We know at some point they're going to be out there, so it doesn't,
Right.
cause a.
But if they're not there, we put it on the front door.
Yes.
And then if the neighbors see that, they know that we're in a court process.
That's correct. And also serves as notice if we can't find the owners, we give a 10-day notice, try to respond to whatever numbers we have or addresses, and then we may get, especially if it's bad, we'll get that first cut. Can't always lean that first cut, but if it's really bad, we'll go ahead and do it.
What if I'm lazy and I don't like cutting my grass? Is it cheaper to go just have the city come out and do it, or is it more expensive?
No, it's not cheaper because at some point it's going to get leaned. If you can imagine the amount of work that goes into it and time, there's also a fee for keeping track of this, keeping track of the billing, the contractors. There's a $200 fee when it gets recorded in August and again in November. So it's not just a matter of paying for cutting the grass. There's going to be a fee for making us do all.
And we always get our money.
Yes.
We'll lien the property.
Yes.
And this happens, so if that person tries to sell their property, they have to pay off our cut and clean bill before the property can turn over. So It's a great system. It was thought up by our great corporate counsel, Chris Gantar. She helps us run it. Hey, Chris, how's it going? Got anything you want to add to this?
None of parking at the school.
I know. I parked in the fire zone. So, there's a fire zone for school purposes only, thank you. So, all right. Anyway, questions about Hammond 311? All right. Go ahead.
Okay, the next question is for Public Works. It's how is the new recycling program working, and is the city making any money from it?
Oh, wow. I just asked this question of the gentleman that runs Republic Recycling the other day, and he gave me the name of one of my department heads that gets this information all the time. Is it you? Yes. All right. So this question will be answered by my Chief of Staff, Mark McLaughlin.
Okay. I think our recycling tonnage is up 300% since they've started. We've had very few complaints, and we do get 10% of the revenue they collect when they turn in all these recyclables. But our biggest savings is we have we would have had to pay landfill disposal costs at $48 a ton. So every ton we recycle saves us $48. And that number, I don't know what it is, but is actually much greater than the money we receive from the 10% of our recycling profits. But so it's good for the environment. It's been very, very successful. And if you have any suggestions, or if you ever have a complaint, just call our office, and because Republic has been very responsive. They've been every few complaints we've had, they've addressed immediately.
Anybody in here? Let me ask you a question. This is one problem I think we're having. They give us a big 55-gallon bin. Does anybody find that is not enough? I have a big family. We fill that thing up twice. We have big families. I think in situations like this, if you're constantly filling it up, because if you're filling it up, it's filled to the brim, and you're like, all right, I'm just going to throw the rest away, we're losing money. Okay? Because when you throw recyclables into the landfill, we have to pay to do that. So not only do we make money off the recycling, we save money on the landfill side. So if you're running into this problem, do me a favor, reach out to the mayor's office, and we'll try to be the liaison between you and Republic, okay? Because the contract calls for one bin for every Hammond resident, which is why we got it. And those bins are filling up, which is great. It's great for us, it's great for them. But I don't know why it's in their best interest, in my opinion, for them to give two in cases where it's needed, or even more. Because if you're filling it up, it's more revenue for them. So I think that's the biggest problem we've had. I mean, which is a good problem to have. That means we're doing it too much. I know I miss recycling. I always try to remember, and I'd be running out there in my underwear taking the things out to the corners. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Well, maybe I had shorts, and I'm not going to streak or anything. But like, you take it out to the street side, and we get a lot more participation this way. So.
I throw mine at cruises. I do too. I fill his up too.
Nice. Squatters. That's good. All right. Any questions about the recycling? It's Republic is the private company that runs it. I'd be honest with you. I wasn't a huge fan of this idea. I delayed this project for 2 years, probably myself, because I was like, hey, we could do it better than anybody. In this case, we couldn't. They do it a lot better than we did. They get a lot more from you, and it's saving us a lot more money. So I've been really happy as the mayor. And quite frankly, I think the company is very responsive. But if you're not having success, please go through our office. Okay, any questions about recycling? All right, we're cruising right along. Who stayed up to watch the World Series game until the 14th inning last night? Nice. I was in and out. I was sleeping, but 12-18 it finished. So, all right. We thought, by the way, we were really worried about the World Series and the Cubs. We were super worried about it. We were like, oh my gosh, we're going to have to change mayors tonight. All right, we didn't have to worry about it anymore. Next year, yeah. Wait till next year. So.
The next question is for the police department. I'm concerned that the new regional 911 isn't ready to handle calls yet, and now that the police non-emergency phone lines are discontinued, every single call, whether it is an emergency or not, has to go through 911. Why can't there be a separate phone number for non-emergency calls?
I know the Chief wants to answer this. This is a great question. And we'll let the Chief answer. I'll come in, Chief. What do you think?
Well, we went out there today just by chance. We spent all morning out there, as a matter of fact, because we were trying to address issues. It's changed. It's new. Everybody has to adjust to it. The citizens have to adjust to it. The police department does. The officers on the street do. It's a strain. It's very hard on us right now. Everybody's learning new jobs out there, and our officers have to adapt to a new way. We did talk to the people in charge today. They want everybody to call 911. There is no non-emergency number as advertised.
660-0000?
That is designed. They're actually, they did promote it improperly, they claim. They advertised that, Mayor, but now they're withdrawing that. So that is intended for if you're an out-of-state person and want to call somebody and say, hey, I know, did you recover my car? You know, I'm from Wisconsin, did you recover my car? That was what that was designed for. So if there's a cat in a tree, they want you to call 911. We addressed the issue of being on state line today, and I said, well, what if I'm on state line and I call 911 and my phone pings in Cal City? They said, well, then Cal City answers. And then they say, hold on a second, and they put it on the trunk line, and it goes directly to county. Short delay, they claim, very short delay, but that's how it's going to work because it's your cell phone.
So 911 for everything?
911 for everything across the board.
So everything that I've been taught in 45 years of my life has to go away now that we got it consolidated.
I had a police officer, the guy pulled up next to him, he was on a call, and we needed to call dispatch, and he was afraid to dial 911 on his cell phone because he'd been schooled, never ever do that because you're tying up the emergency lines.
I think this is crazy.
That's not their school of thought. I don't understand how they're going to filter, because everything's 911, but they have call takers. It's a different type of system. We just have to trust that it's going to work, and they work out the bugs.
Good rule of thumb is not to die while they're working out the kinks, right? So, Chief?
The biggest thing I've seen a change in, I was never working in dispatch as the police department was when they ran our dispatch. I have access on my computer screen now that I can see a call come up, and the computer makes a dinging noise, and it's the Spillman system. The other day I was watching my computer, it went off, and I clicked on it, and the call came in for an investigation, and it was 4 minutes before they dispatched a rig. And I'm on the phone after 2 minutes calling them going, are you guys going to put this tone out? And they're like, well, we're still getting the information. So like the chief said, when you call 911 now, a person gets the call, types it all in, and then sends it to this person over here, and that's the dispatcher. If this person types the wrong address, which could have happened in Griffith.
It did happen in Griffith.
The person that called 911 may have told them the right address. He typed it wrong, or a person typed it wrong, gave it to the call taker, the dispatcher. So like John said, it's a totally different thing that we're trying to get used to. Over the past week, I was really complaining. I was on the radio, and I'm never on the radio. I've been carrying a radio around with me for 2 weeks now. I mean, walking around the station because I was hearing everything, and it was frustrating. I talked to Councilman Ham about it. He's really helped out. I talked to Mr. Repay, what's his title? Commissioner Repay. I talked to him a couple times on the phone. He went and chewed out these two guys that are running this thing. It's been frustrating for my guys. They're calling me. I'm sure the chief, you got your guys calling you. It's been frustrating. We're trying to work through it. They finally started to listen to me a little bit. I hope they are with the police department. Our guys were used to one certain tone, or two tones. We had a solid tone for an ambulance call and a broken tone for a fire call. It was like hit or miss. I don't think they were playing, it was like Xbox. They were just hitting a button to see what tone it was. And we were like sitting there going, is it for us? And then we were hearing Munster's traffic, we were hearing Dyer's traffic, Whiting, East Chicago. They came to us last week and said, hey, you guys know what? You guys get a lot of calls in Hammond. We're like, no kidding. We get 8,600 ambulance calls a year, plus probably, we get about 15,000 calls per year with fire and ambulance. So it's like, you guys get a lot of calls. We're like, yeah, we told you that when you guys started to set this system up. They finally gave us back our own channel. Now we hear only our calls. We had to switch to another channel to respond, and hopefully the dispatcher switched to the same channel, so there'd be some communication. We didn't have that at first. Now we got our own channel back. It's getting better, and I just hope to God nothing happens here like what happened in Griffith.
Yeah. I know sitting 2 chairs down from you is the head of the Hammond Sewage Department, Jack Smith. Jack's a Hessville resident. You live on 7100 block,
6700 block of Maryland.
sorry, 6700 block of Maryland. Unfortunately, Jack's home caught on fire about a month ago,
31 days ago.
31 days ago. You live right down the street from Station 8, and within 2 minutes, they were there?
3 minutes, they were there putting the fire out.
And saved his house. I mean, you know, a lot is said, you know, there's a lot of communities that have volunteer fire departments. If Jack's home was in Munster, it'd probably be a total loss, right? Because in Munster, they have to dispatch the firemen have to go to the station, get in the rig and drive out there. Would your home have blasted in a situation like that, Jack?
Oh, no.
So, I mean, we paid extra to have a professional fire department right down the street, ready to jump on our calls, and in Jack's case, it saved his house. And that was consolidated dispatch at that time, right, Chief?
It was, but it was being run out of, it was still being run out of the
Hammond
dispatch center.
Okay.
With our old system and everything else. 3 weeks ago was when they switched over and it just,
Yeah.
everything.
It's part of the problem, because if you worked in the Hammond Dispatch Center and you had a call for, you know, an address, they're familiar with the streets of Hammond because they've been working here for 10, 20
And
years.
that's the other thing that we're running into. There's people that we're talking to now. Well, actually, January 1st, when county took over dispatch, we had some of our dispatchers, we knew their voice. They knew our voice. You can count on it. Then they started filtering some of the county employees, and a lot of stuff changed. I mean, it was, we had one great dispatcher. She just retired. She knew everything about the city. I mean, it was amazing just to have her. It was a gift that we had that we don't have anymore, and that's something that we miss. I heard a girl's voice on the radio the other day that used to work for him, and now she works for county. I was like, whew, thank God. Somebody knows what's going on. But some of these voices we don't know, and you're right. They might be from Lowell, and they get thrown in. That's the tone we like. Somebody might be from Lowell, and they get thrown into Hammond Dispatch, and they don't have a clue where Carroll Street's at, or they don't have a clue where Caroline's at.
Gotcha. Okay. County Councilman Dave Ham, who has been our ally, working out the kinks on this issue. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing well, Mayor. I think there's a...
Retired Hammond fireman, by the way.
Exactly, yes. My predecessor, Chief Smith. I mean,
Yep.
proud my former deputy chief. He's doing a great job. I want to point out one thing to begin with, and this is not to pass the blame. The municipalities nor the county asked for this. The state mandated that this take place in all counties. We weren't happy. If I was a legislator, I would have voted no. So we're just following state law. I can also tell you that I'm on the 911 Commission. One of the things that we've talked about recently is we're going to have an executive session. As the Corporation Council can tell you, there's only 2 reasons you can call for an executive session. One is personnel matters, and one is pending litigation. And we're going to have an issue with, I think, the latter, I anticipate.
Yeah.
And the first one, I guarantee we're going to take up.
I mean, we know
I've been
two situations, right, Councilman?
I'm
Two
sorry?
situations. The gentleman in the church in Maryville, I believe.
That was in Gary.
In Gary? Yeah, he was a Gary officer, right? And then we had the situation in
The
Griffith.
former Gary officer, and yes, he passed away in Gary. And then we have this situation that took place in Griffith. Chief Smith's been in contact with me, as well as I've spoken to Chief Doty, but actually their representative, the Deputy Chief Margraf and Rudy Gracia from the police department is who I've been in contact constantly with. I got the tones changed back, Jeff Smith. That was a tone that all the firefighters forever had been accustomed to make them aware. We got that resolved. There are some things with Mr. Hitchcock and Mr. Allendorf that need to be addressed. It might not be a happy ending, but this is not a good thing that's going on. We're working, my wife's here. She'll tell you, I have been so frustrated, I've been crabby about it at home.
Sorry, Debbie.
But that's no excuse for what took place with the gentleman in Griffith. We will get it resolved. It's an unfortunate incident, and we will get it resolved. But we used to have 2 halves, an east and a west dispatch zone. As of a week ago, we have 3 dispatch zones. One is south. One is we're only going to share in Hammond with East Chicago and Whiting, and the other one is Gary alone. So we've narrowed it down so really Hammond and East Chicago will have their own, because in their infinite wisdom, they didn't realize the amount of calls that Hammond, takes in.
Dave, I think one of the really troubling things, in my opinion, is the 911 issue. If your cat is stuck in a tree and you used to call the non-emergency number at the police department, now you have to call 911, or your bike is stolen or something that's not a 911 emergency. our whole lives we've been taught not to call 911, and now they're like, oh, don't worry about it, just call 911. Just, to me, it seems like in Lake County we do things differently, and this just reinforces that notion. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, you're a former fire chief, do you agree?
Yes, sir, and it's being addressed. I think that what we need is probably 2 or 3 non-emergency numbers so that they run in sequence. But I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Chief Doty and I were together when we were given the number 660-0000. This is the answer that was given to the police chief and myself. Come to find out, it was incorrect. I think it's ridiculous to call for a cat in a tree and you call 911.
I agree.
I think it's absolutely
I still
ridiculous.
don't feel responsible as a mayor telling people that.
I think it should be a somewhat of a common number. Typically, out there in Crown Point, we have 755 numbers, okay?
Right.
I think it should be a 755, for example, 1,000, 1001, and 1002 for non-emergency, but that is being addressed and will be rectified.
Thank you. Okay. Consolidated dispatch is a great question. Sir?
Chief, this is for you. You said that you talked to the dispatch or the people over there. My question is, you guys running more technical side, are you running a black fiber cable, or are you running the Cat 6 type cable? Because of the bandwidth. Do you know what cable you're running?
I don't know what cables are in their buildings.
The reason being is the fiber allows for more bandwidth to go through, and if you're running on our older technology, they're talking about bringing the black fiber in to the area, I know Valparaiso area, that they're starting to bring that in. Are we going to be able to see that come into this area?
Well, they just set up a new microwave system, and we may be going to that actually. And that's been put up in Hammond actually. It's on our tower, and we're going to be using that to assure communications don't fail, and that's a redundancy. And but yeah, their system out there is brand new. I've seen it. It's state of the art. They don't have any problem getting the calls. They're not having any problem with that. They have plenty of memory, plenty of storage. They have triple redundancy on everything. They have 2 generators out there. Each of them had the size of some homes in Hammond. Technology is not an issue. I believe the 911 center is sound. It's better than the one we had in Hammond by far. Less likely to fail. It's lightning proof. Ours used to get hit every single rainstorm. Didn't always go down, but it got hit hundreds of times a year. And sometimes it went down. We're not going to have those issues, we don't think, at Lake County. We just have to work out the mechanics of running it, using it, making sure it's user-friendly for officers, making sure that officer safety is addressed, fire safety is addressed all the time. Those are the issues at hand. I believe you can all feel confident that the system itself works mechanically. The technology is sound.
Thank you. And I want to remind you, the county is running this. You know, we signed on. I was thinking regionally. You know, it's state mandated. You know, it really didn't cost us anything to go there. They took $1 million out of our budget. It cost us about $1 million to run city dispatch. So they just took our levy. Didn't cost you any extra. And it sort of penalized us, right, Heather? I mean, it just took $1 million out of our budget, right? So, but this is all being run through the county. The decisions on what type of bandwidth and the equipment is all being made through the county. So, County Chief Callahan, how you doing?
Fine, how are you?
Good.
I would just like to say, 2 weeks ago, the system, it was bad. It was real bad. And I talked with Chief Smith and Dave Ham. And I want to thank you both because today is much easier than it was 2 weeks ago. I mean,
they changed all your guys' engine numbers, right?
Yeah, well, they did that, but I'm just saying that's not the hard part. Just like they said, we had to carry 2 radios. You know, you respond on one, you listen on another, and it was just hard. And it seems like it would take 6 minutes for you to get the call. But as of today, everything seems fine. So
all right, let me
I know I talked to both guys, and it's not a lot better now.
Thank you. What's better? We had problems with our system too, right? Like I know that we had dead spots throughout the city, especially in police. That's a pretty sensitive situation. Is it better as far as our coverage?
The one thing that we're supposed to get out of it is by going to a lower megahertz, better penetration in buildings.
Right. It's like same as a cell phone kind of thing, right?
Correct. The lower frequency you use, like the military is down in the 200s, it penetrates into a home. It'll go around a hill, and then because when we moved from the 2 meter band in the 600s, and originally when we went to the new 800 megahertz system, which required by federal government, we lost that. You go in the hospital, even with the new 700 megahertz, we went down a little bit. Still doesn't work in a hospital. There's just too much electronics in there, and there's too much interference. But we are having better coverage in houses and basements than we did used to have. We're noticing that.
Which is an officer safety issue.
Huge officer safety issue.
Right.
If we lose an officer's radio when he goes into the hospital, that's
Right.
probably okay.
But in a basement?
Yeah, if you
That's
go into
big
a
deal.
basement and you're after somebody and your portable stops working,
Right.
not acceptable.
Gotcha.
Not acceptable.
So there are some things that are better.
They're better, and they have promised to address one issue that was very serious. It's a call taker issue. Is at Hammond, we spent decades running our own shop, and we have 130,000 calls for service about that they've now inherited. And our call taker was right next to the dispatch. So while they were taking the call, they were listening in.
Gotcha.
It was real time. You call in a domestic, okay, to the officer. Now they type it up. As you stated, they send it over. And they say, hey, there's a domestic over here at this house. So the officer goes over there, and he's walking up to the door. Wife calls back and says, the husband is walking with a shotgun out to meet your officer. Well, now they got to type that up, send it over. It comes in red writing across, and then they tell the officer. Seconds only, maybe, but instead of it's not real time anymore. So that delay could be an officer safety issue.
Gotcha. Chief Smith?
I forgot what I was going to say. I was tied up in his story. It's just, it's like Jack said, it is getting a lot better. The response times were low. I was afraid that we were going to have bigger problems that we ended up having, but it's getting better. It's going to take a little bit of time, but hopefully with the dispatcher sitting next to each other, if that's the case, that'll be fantastic too.
Okay. Any other questions on this? I'm glad this came up. This doesn't get enough conversation in Hammond, but I could tell you I know a lot of people are working on it. I think Hammond was, Councilman Ham, were we the first big city to sign on? Were we the first city to sign on? I believe we were, weren't we?
First city, not the first large city. The
First city.
Yes, sir.
Right. So nobody talks about when Hammond does the quote-unquote right thing, but the writing was on the wall. Whether we wanted to do this or not, it was happening. I guess we could hold out like Cherville and Cedar Lake, who are being ridiculous in my opinion.
Discussions have already started. They're talking about coming our way already.
It's ridiculous.
Because of the cost that's involved with them running their own. But I want to point out that in our dead spots, Chief, there's what is it called? Not ABS. Rudy Groscher would know. There's a directional antenna of some sort that can be purchased for $20,000, and we're talking with like the casino as well as the hospital. It's $20,000. If they will not come up with it out of their pocket, which I would think that they would, Commissioner Repay and I have the funding necessary that we'll go ahead and install it, but we think that they ought to do it. And we won't have any debts. If we have to put 10 in St. Margaret, so be it. I mean, $200,000 well worth it.
Thank you, Chief. Chief. Councilman? Wherever you are. See Councilman at Large, Robert Markovich. Nice to see you, Councilman. Any other questions? We'll start over here. I'm sorry. We'll get to you a second, George.
Well, my question is, like what the mayor was saying, I'm still concerned about having to dial 911 for non-emergency numbers. If they don't have a way to filter those out so that only the emergencies get priority and these others get handled on a much lower level, then it's going to discourage people from calling in non-emergency issues that are still important.
Yes.
But I mean, I would be thinking twice about making a report, especially while it's in the shakedown state where they're not really ready yet.
So you're concerned as well about the non-emergency number being the same as the emergency number?
Absolutely.
Thank you for bringing that up. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And I talked about it on my radio show, and I'm going to keep on talking about it until they change it.
Yes.
Either that or I'll just keep on talking about it and annoy people, so.
To have a separate number for,
I agree. Okay, we got a question over here?
Just following up on the idea of priority. Who actually prioritizes? You talk about a dispatch center is going to have a lot of calls coming in. Who's making the decision as to
What's more important than the other?
Great question.
Any idea? I mean, I don't know.
And the reason the microphones aren't around is because we are airing this live on Go Hammond TV, and it is archived on Go Hammond TV. Just in case you want to watch it twice, you have that option. So, or as many times as you want, quite frankly. You know, helps you fall asleep at night. The question was, who prioritizes? If we have 5 phone calls coming in about a cat stuck in a tree and there's snow on the streets and other non-emergency issues, and at the same time you're trying to call in 911, are you going to get a busy signal? Because that would be what I'm afraid of. Or are you going to be prioritized lower because you have a slow typist?
Who actually makes the decisions?
Good question. We don't run 911, George. I mean, anybody? Maybe we should, I don't have guests very often. I should have, well, if I'd have known this was going to be a topic, I would ask Brian Hitchcock to come out. I don't think I've ever met Brian Hitchcock, actually. But anyway, yes, ma'am.
How many call answerers are on duty at one time?
How many officers?
That answer the phone. The call.
Oh, dispatchers?
Yeah.
For countywide?
It's the bandwidth.
95? That's the total. Gotcha. So, and then you got what, probably 30% of them at one time? Because you got some people on vacation. So you got about 30? Countywide, 30 dispatchers working it right now. Okay, 24/7. On Christmas, they're working. Questions? I'm really glad this came up.
I think as taxpayers, we got to stop and remember that the county only had, what, 4 years, 5 years to get this taken care of, and they waited till the last month.
You know, it's interesting, sir. I'm glad you brought that up. The problem, in my opinion, how this happened was, at the time it was passed, Sheriff Dominguez was sheriff. And Sheriff Dominguez was in his final 2 years, and he was talking about other things at the time. He wasn't talking about countywide dispatch. He was talking about, moving up the political ladder. And I don't think he was in a big hurry. And I mean, you might want to ask Dave if he agrees with this or not. I think Dominguez said, because they're term limited. I'm out of here in 2 years. I'm not going to go through all the headaches required. So when Sheriff Buncich took over, he had this on his plate, and he had literally a deadline. And quite frankly, so we wasted 2 years.
Personally, I think they're all at fault. All of them down in Crown Point.
Well,
they didn't want to do it, and so they thought if they kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, that it would change.
Well, I mean, there may be some truth to that, sir. There may be, as far as maybe they hoped that it would change, maybe if the General Assembly had switched back. I would have rather kept the Hammond dispatchers myself. Okay? But
I don't have a problem with the system, but, all the problems we're having now, if they'd have taken the 4 years that they had to get it set up when it was supposed to be done towards the deadline, they'd have had all that worked out.
They could have been up 6 months before, maybe.
But no, they got to fight back and forth. Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that?
Okay.
We elect them all for the county. They should all be taken care of.
Okay, I appreciate it. I mean, I can tell you that Hammond's county representatives, I'm a fan of both of them. I mean, I think Dave Hammond does a great job. And I'll be honest with you, I think Commissioner Ripe is going to be running next year. I think he does a great job as well. They're both smart, and they love Hammond, and they fight for us. So, and I know people have their opinions about, and that's the American way. But I think we've done our job in Hammond of sending good representatives to the county. So, any other questions on this? That was a great topic. I'm glad that came up. Yes, sir.
One final thought there, Mr. Mayor. I've set up call centers. I used to work with J.P. Morgan, and I have set up call centers. It does take time. They usually have a way to test it first, and they didn't get a lot of time, like the gentleman said.
No, he's right.
It has to have a shakeout period. It takes time, and if everything is given the time, it will work. It has to work.
Councilman Ham, they gave us 6 years, right? And 2 years were basically nothing was happening, right? 3 years?
They gave us 6 years, and actually the deadline was the first of change.
Right.
And the sheriff was charged with heading that up. And for 3 years...
It was Dominguez initially, right?
For 3 years, Sheriff Dominguez did nothing. It's just a fact. Not whether I like him or not. Sheriff Dominguez did nothing.
Why do you think he did nothing? Just because he turned out?
I can't answer the question. I've only been on the county council for, at the end of this year, will be 3 years. I didn't work with Sheriff Dominguez. Sheriff Bunsich just came in. Sheriff Bunsich started on this, and I just heard a gentleman said that he had worked in dispatch. This is not something, I was shocked. It cannot be done overnight. It does take a while. You are 100% correct. If anybody is disappointed, you have your right to be disappointed with anybody in the county, and I can accept that. I'll accept that. But we're not fighting over who gets to do what. We have been working as fast and as well as we can for the last 3 years.
This is a big issue on your plate right now, right?
Absolutely.
Is it the biggest issue you're dealing with right now?
Yes.
Because your budget's passed.
I think number one, yes, by far.
I agree.
By far. I mean,
it's not the consolidation, it's the problems with the consolidation that you're dealing with now, right?
I'm not worried about the consolidation as much as it working right. If some community doesn't want to join, so be it. That's their decision. But I want what we have to work right. And I have not been as irate as I was when I heard about that gentleman's death in Griffith for a long time. There's nothing I can do. I'm talking to a gentleman next to me. I said, it's unfortunate. It's not something we can just take back. I'm hot about this.
And you're the former fire chief, a retired fireman, so I know.
I've been a police officer. I've been a firefighter. I was the fire chief. I care. I care. I not only care, the public, I care about the police officers and the firefighters. We have to remember that too. But what they care about are you, the public. I mean that. They can argue in the fire station or in a squad car. When they come out there and to do their job, they care about you. That's what we're trying to make sure is that they get good communication. We are trying our hardest. That is my #1 priority. And yes, as it happens, our Hammond commissioner is the one I've been working closely with, Commissioner Repe.
Thanks, David. All right. Okay, that was a great conversation. I bet you it's the most public conversation that's taken place on this probably ever. Because this hasn't been talked about with the public. This is just sort of a government thing. It was mandated by the state, and they said, do it Lake County. And I know the chiefs got together and ironed this out. There was a public safety rep from each community that got together. Nobody really talked to the public about this. They didn't say, hey, do you guys want to lose Hammond Dispatch? Now, I understand the big picture. The big picture is you had 19 PSAPs, and we want to go down to 2, and that saves money. That's the logic coming from Indianapolis, and I can sort of buy into the logic. I understand why they're doing it. It's just the devil is in the details, and I don't think a lot of them have been fleshed out. And I think we all agree on that. So.
Mayor, the other thing too, Lake County was the largest. There were 17 dispatch centers that had to be put into one big building. This was the largest in the state also.
Mm-hmm.
So they got over their heads a little bit because the population between us and Gary alone is bigger than Marion County.
Right.
I mean, Marion County did it years ago. They did
bigger than Porter County for sure.
Oh yeah, twice as big. But there were 17 different municipalities that had to do this. Only 15 have done it. But this was the biggest group of counties and people that had to do this. So this is unprecedented in the state.
They weren't asking, guys. Governor Daniels, and I'm not beating up on Governor Mitch. He was governor then. Governor Daniels likes consolidation. Look what's going on at Purdue right now. Purdue-Calumet, which isn't going to be Purdue-Calumet at the end of the school year, it's going to be Purdue Northwest. What are they doing? They're merging 2 campuses into 1. They're firing 1 chancellor. They're firing, if there's 2 athletic directors, they're firing 1. If there's 2 English teachers, they're firing 1. So this is very consistent with Governor Daniels and how he ran things. And this happened when Governor Daniels was governor of the state. And they weren't asking. They didn't say, Mayor McDermott, what do you think about this? They just did it. When they said, no, get it done, Sheriff. So, great conversation. Thank you, guys. We'll go on to the next one now.
Okay, this question is also for the police department. I'm curious about the red and blue lights on 169th at Klein Service Road and Grand Avenue. Is this for surveillance or traffic control?
They're crime-fighting cameras. And I get this question a lot. I'm sure the chief does as well. We did this early in 2015. We put these up. They're crime-fighting cameras. We put them at locations where we feel like, in this neighborhood, for instance, maybe a crime is committed here, and they want to run into Gary after they commit the crime, or they want to run into East Chicago after they commit the crime, or they want to get onto 8094 after they commit the crime. And if we know your house is broken into at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, because that's when it happens. It's not 2 a.m., it's 2 p.m. Chief, am I right on that? They're going to break into your house in the daytime when you're at work. They're not going to break into your house at nighttime when you're there. So if we know what time your house is broken into, and if we knew that you say, I know that they turned left on 169th and they ran over into Gary. Bam. We got the crime fighting camera. It catches license plates. It's looking right at license plates. And we can catch them as they're driving into Gary or wherever they're driving into. But, you know, East Chicago, 8094, we strategically place them on the exit points of our city. So we're sort of building a video sanctuary. They are crime fighting cameras. We put the red and yellow flashing lights, red and blue flashing lights on there because they look like police lights and we want them to know they're there. I want the bad guys to know. These are here. These work. They store data for 30 days? 30 days. Okay? We get that question a lot. Crime fighting cameras. Red light cameras, illegal in Indiana. So you can run that red light, we can't do anything about it. Okay? Not encouraging that, I'm just saying. It's illegal. Okay, it's not Illinois. So, yes, ma'am.
Have you used them yet? Have they?
Good question.
Have you viewed them?
Steve?
Has it helped with
Not
crime?
utilized yet? Right. Not yet.
Not yet?
No.
Because they know they're
Oh,
there.
hey, when did you get here?
A little bit ago.
Oh,
I snuck in. I heard you were looking for me.
I was looking for you. That's my IT guy. Hey, Chris. I thought I skipped over you. I'm like, wait a second.
No, it's okay. We've used them. There's been an accident over there, and then there was like a minor pursuit that was requested by the detective.
How long do they store for, Chris?
It's 30 days.
30 days.
Yeah, the red and blue ones are 30 days.
Is it a deterrent, do you think? If I'm a bad guy, am I going to deal drugs right below one of those bad boys?
I think it is. We published it well. We could probably publish it more. I think if the citizens are noticing it, that means something. It means the bad guys are noticing it as well. If the citizen wants to know why it's there, then the bad guys see it also. They probably wonder why it's there. We could probably republish that again, Mayor, as crime fighting cameras.
Right.
Because we don't want the public to think we're watching that light. We want them to know we're watching your plates.
Right.
For that reason.
Right. I can tell you, right by City Hall, Tapper and Lyons, excuse me. Tapper and Lyons, I take the same route out of City Hall almost every day, and I noticed when I would take this route out, I'm not very smart, but I noticed things, and I noticed that there was like lookouts, and in my opinion, there were like lookouts looking out for somebody that was dealing drugs, and there was a lot of like people talking in windows of the cars, and I said, this is not good. They're dealing drugs right outside of City Hall. We got to do something about this. We put that camera right up there on Lyons and Tapper. I haven't seen it a couple of years. I mean, quite frankly, all I see now is kids playing basketball.
Yeah, the traffic's totally changed over there. It was open air drug trafficking for sure. It's also helped us out. We put one up Carroll and Calumet.
Carroll and Calumet, I was going to bring that up.
There's a store over there, helped us immensely over there.
Yep, right.
And we've used that, the gang units used that and made a lot of arrests on it.
Grand and 169th, for the kids that are leaving Morton, you know, we don't issue jaywalking tickets or anything, but I think it reminds them if you get into a fight below here, which we pulled fight data from one, didn't we? A fight that happened, or was that off body cam? That was off body cam, right? Body cam at McDonald's, right. But we do have it right over there for all the kids, because we get a lot of complaints about the flow of traffic with Morton High School. That's out. Quite frankly, that high school is probably the one I get most complaints on about jaywalking. I don't get it as much at Hammond High as we used to. I think we sort of convinced Hammond High students it's unsafe. But at Morton, I still get a lot of complaints there. And I talked to my daughter, that's a teacher there, tried to get her to help me. But anyway, questions on the crime fighting cameras? I'm going to do a little plug here for every single kid. What's your name, son?
Mine?
No, that little boy right there. Billy? What grade are you in? Third? 4. I was taking a guess. Billy, did you get a letter from Mayor McDermott last week?
I think I got it this week.
This week,
Yesterday.
Yeah, from the mayor's office? What was it about? Do you remember?
About cell phone safety.
My man, I love this kid. Good job, Billy. Congratulations. Every student in the school city of Hammond, in parochial schools in Hammond, any school in Hammond got a letter from the mayor's office last week. I've noticed a trend. We've noticed a trend in the city of Hammond, not just in the city of Hammond. I read newspapers from all over the state. Read one last week about 2 people on the Monon in Indianapolis that got jumped by a group of young men and beaten up. And what did they do? They didn't flash a gun. They just beat them up and said, give me your cell phones. And they hand over 2 iPhones and then they take off, and they probably take a $500 piece of equipment, and they sell it for $100, and they make $200. All they had to do is beat 2 people up. Young kid in Hammond, a little bit older than you, buddy, got beat up by some bad guys. He had a cell phone. They took the cell phone. We caught him. Right, Chief? FBI got involved in that. I read an article about a situation on Oak Street Beach in Chicago on a bike trail. Guy walking his girlfriend. Bunch of thugs came up. They wanted to take a cell phone. Too bad for them that that guy was a member of the Royal Air Force. And he kicked their butts. But they were going for the cell phones. The thing is, Billy, why we sent that to you is this is worth a lot of money. And sometimes we don't think about that. That when you're walking down the street, there's like, yeah, just talking to my buddy on a cell phone, right? When bad guys see you doing that, for them it's worth it. It's $100 at least. How much do you think you can get for this on the black market, Chief?
Unfortunately, the last one we know sold for $35.
$35?
And they went to Popeye's Chicken and spent the money.
$35 for an iPhone.
Well, they may have been in a hurry for that chicken.
They need to bargain better. They need to bargain better. So, Billy, cell phone safety. Thank you for backing me up on that, okay? I was taking a chance that you got it. So it's good to know Billy's paying attention. The letter's coming from Mayor McDermott. This is a problem. This is a trend. I don't think it's going away. I think we need to educate ourselves and be aware. It's not a Hammond problem. It's societal. So I want to take a second and have you all talk to your friends and family and be smart about using cell phones in public, okay? Thank you. We'll go on to the next question.
While we're talking about schools and the police department, just if the chief would possibly speak on this, what is being done by the Hammond Police Department to prevent school-to-prison pipelines from Hammond schools?
That's your question, Chief. School-to-prison pipeline. What are you doing?
What am I doing to...
What is the Hammond Police Department doing to prevent a school-to-prison pipeline from Hammond schools?
That's a pretty broad question.
How about this, Chief? We had a situation about a year ago in this part of town. And we've been getting asked questions, you and I, as of late about what has changed since that arrest off of Klein Avenue to now. What has the Hammond Police Department done as far as outreach and trying to, you know, appear in the public more and work with the public more?
We've been doing a lot, reference the City of Hammond with the Department of Justice to increase communications between the citizens of Hammond, and this is all a project forthcoming. We'll probably announce near Christmas or after, but it's going to be a citywide program that was sponsored by Department of Justice, and it's going to be basically like you think of a crime watch, but it's going to be much more intricate than that, much more involved. There's going to be subcommittees throughout the community, and we hope that this is going to allow the police department to improve relationships and communications throughout the city. That specifically is tailored to adults, though, but adults control their children, so maybe that positive influence they're going to get with the police department building those relationships will be carried on from parents to the kids. As far as the kids directly in Hammond, parental issues are always first and foremost for reasons that children do not succeed. It's not because of a lack of police involvement. It's a lack of parental involvement. However, that said, the police department cares a lot about our children. We do whatever we can. We have basketball events. My officers donate time. We go to schools. We go to sign language classes and sit beside the children, and the officers and the kids learn sign language. We bought basketball hoops, and we put them up at the Civic Center, and we play ball with them. Next summer, next spring.
Coffee with a cop.
Yeah, coffee with a cop. But we plan on being on the street, and more we're trying to reach out to the community and talk to the kids. We're also trying to bring back the cadet program. It'll be new. It'll be different. It's going to be tailored to the city of Hammond, keeping our children here with us. The one we had before was part of the Boy Scouts of America, the Explorer program, and they went to jamborees and away from here. It was a good program. It wasn't well run prior to Brian Miller. It was started, and it lost focus somewhere, but we're still interested in retailing that program to reach out to our youth. So I believe the Hammond Police Department does do a lot to reach out to our youth. We have a lot more on the table that we're going to be doing in the next year or two with respect to directly really reaching the children, letting them know that police are a positive role model and we are here for them. And maybe we can get involved with their parents as well through these programs. But again, a stable home is where it always starts.
Thanks, Chief. All right, we'll go ahead and next question.
This is for police and engineering. It's a comment. A pedway is needed for students to go across the tracks on Truman. Students go over and under the stop trains.
Hi, that actually was from Ms. Robinson and myself. The train that stops daily, twice a day, in the morning, after school, is here on Grand.
Right.
And we have witnessed students hopping over the stop train, going under the stop train. And I believe that we are getting more complaints this year because her and I actually walk down there and they will call us and say, kids are going under the train, kids are going over the train. So we've actually brought in special agents from the Indiana Harbor Belt, and they've done a presentation on the Operation Lifesaver. We have a federal agent coming in to show a presentation on train safety. However, middle school students, high school students, and they will hand us a cell phone and say, my parents said we can jump over these trains. And parents will say, yeah, they have my permission.
Right.
We're afraid that is it going to take someone to get hurt before we have something in place. I'm not worried about the cars, they can go around, but we need something for these kids to get over the train because the train, we have been there till 4:30 and school gets out at 3:15.
Gotcha. Well, I get this complaint, been mayor 12 years, often. And I wish I could tell you that mayors were more powerful than railroads, but that's not the case. Railroads are more powerful than cities and states. When you talk to a railroad about, you know, why are you going through our neighborhood and stopping your trains? What the railroad says is, you know, you built the neighborhood around our train system. And so we're left with, we could enforce state law by writing tickets, and we write tickets, and the ticket goes to our county prosecutor, Bernie Carter, and quite frankly, in my opinion, he sells us out. He settles it for nothing, for pennies on the dollar, and quite frankly, one year I remember when I first took over, it's classic. We had hundreds and hundreds of complaints, tickets written by Hammond Police Department, and they loop them all together like it's a class action lawsuit, and they settled it, and the railroads had to buy speed guns. And I was thinking how funny that was, because why do we need speed guns when they're the ones that are stopping all the traffic in the first place? So the fact is, the system's broken, the railroads are more powerful than us. Quite frankly, they sort of ignore us. I think they probably listen to you more than us. However, I am going to turn over to Chief. Chief just recently had an agreement, I guess, with the railroad.
Their local representative changed the director, and we were able to meet with them. We've had no luck in the past. They're federally backed. The right of freight, the movement of freight needs to continue to, you know, for commerce reasons. They pretty much have ignored us. We've never stopped writing tickets. We're still writing them today. It is arbitrated every time. They have high-priced lawyers and ridiculous amounts of money that never comes back to Hammond.
So do your officers feel like it's sort of a waste of time right now?
They do. They're frustrated.
They've never seen any real enforcement at all on the ticket, right?
No, and but the new director has come in. We just had a meeting with him a couple weeks ago. He has assured us there's a 15-minute time wait before they get a ticket. That's the enforcement. If they're stationary more than 15 minutes, they get a ticket. We wait. If they're there another 15 minutes for a total 30, they get another ticket, and so on and so forth.
Then who prosecutes the ticket?
It goes to Lake County.
So, I mean, a lot of your anger could properly be directed towards Bernie Carter, who's a heck of a nice guy. But I don't think Bernie's got the memo how upset this makes people. I got the memo. I get the memo every time I have a mayor's night. I get the memo once a week, once every couple weeks. I get this complaint all the time. Bernie needs to get the memo from you all. So maybe a crime watch would invite the county prosecutor out and you guys light him up. When you say, why are you selling us out, prosecutor? Why don't you hold these trains accountable for stopping in our community? We do our job. Our job is to write the ticket and hope for the best. And Bernie's a heck of a nice guy. I've supported Bernie in the past, but this issue frustrates me. And I think you can tell by my tone.
I get it, and I know that
trains are gonna stop. However, we need a solution. That's what we're asking for, because what is it gonna take first? Because the students jump over and go under, and someone's gonna get hurt. And, you know, we've been out there and I've seen it firsthand. So we need a solution. I get that the train stopped. I get that they're not, you know, it's nothing to them to pay these fines, but what can we do as a city to help the kids get home safely?
Nothing. That's what we're saying. We could give them a ticket. And then the county prosecutor does what he does with the ticket that we write him. That's what we could do. That's all we could do. We could ask him not to park there. They used to park right over by the subway and get out and get a sandwich.
I've seen it.
And hold up traffic while they're getting a sandwich. Hopefully they make their salami sandwich real quick, right? It's ridiculous and it's frustrating. And I wish I could tell you I could do something about this right now, but I can't, because the trains are governed by federal law and they're more powerful than cities and states. They are, and it's frustrating. I don't know what to tell you. Chris, can you help me out on this?
No, I mean, this has been a long-standing problem. However, Barb McConnell, Pete Villarreal, and Bernie Carter did come out and have a meeting with us. And what they're looking for is they want pictures of the kids, or cameras or images of the kids climbing over the trains, because they said if they had that, it would give them more leverage to do something.
You're like, could you stop real quick so I can snap this picture?
So, I mean, if anybody, you know, if the kids aren't going to listen to you anyway, could you at least get a picture of them and then get it to Barb McConnell over at the Lake County Prosecutor's Office, because she said that would be instrumental in asking for higher fines.
We get this from Scott Middle School, especially, because they have the same issue that you guys have. And I understand why you're frustrated. I understand why you're scared. We're just as frustrated and scared. I tell our officers to go out there. Chief tells the officers to go out there. They write the ticket. Nothing happens. We could write 100 tickets. Nothing happens. It's ridiculous. The person that's responsible for enforcing those tickets is our county prosecutor, who we elect. And if he doesn't represent us, there's nothing we could do. And I'm sure that if word gets back to Bernie that I'm talking this way, he's going to be frustrated, but I don't care. Because he's ignoring us on this issue. He is. And it's making an unsafe situation in Hammond. Yeah.
Okay. We do have a camera over there now facing down Parish to get pictures, which hopefully will help. And I didn't get to add that the new director, and you'll be the judge. You guys are in the communities, and my officers have been instructed to continue watching and writing tickets for every violation. But the director claims that he's going to decrease the stoppages during school times, during the times they're going and happening. Now, these meetings just happened, like I said, within the last 2 weeks, and I don't know if you're going to notice a benefit or not, but that remains to be seen. So feel free to call us, but my officers will be out there. You'll be seeing them. Our traffic unit is very vigilant, especially at those locations, and we will keep writing them. But they have made claims that they're going to make an effort during school times to decrease the stoppages.
I tell you, I know you're fired up. I think setting up a meeting with the county prosecutor and expressing your fear to the county prosecutor directly, I think that'll have a big impact. We've done it. Councilman Hand, have you ever, I know you've had this issue come across your plate multiple times, and you work with the county prosecutor. You're like a supervisor.
I have, and the last time I spoke to him was in an open meeting, a council meeting, and actually he told me he would get a hold of our corporation counsel, so I'm not passing the buck. I don't know what conversations he's
Well, they
had
did
with
follow up that with the meeting. Can you light a fire on this again for us?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Yeah. All right.
I just have a follow-up to all of this.
Hey.
I think, first of all, thank you guys for everything you're doing. It sounds like you're doing a really good job in trying to minimize all of this going on. But I almost feel like what she's trying to say, and I think would echo a lot of what we're thinking, we might be looking in the wrong direction. I think this is more of a development issue. I believe there's a group, the RDA, that deals with getting trains elevated off of rails. And for some reason, we're kind of, Hessel and Hammond has sort of been at the bottom of the list
The RDA
for that. Is that RDA?
No, they used to have something called the Four Cities Consortium.
Okay.
That was their whole purpose in life, and it never panned out, and quite frankly, it dissolved. The RDA, they're really focused on creating another train line right now.
Right, so
They're sort of like that's their primary focus right now.
Could it be
and it's not going to be elevated, it'll be on the ground.
Right. But could it be possible that that's something we lobby for, that's something that we push? We say,
No, it's a great plan. At the Port City Consortium, that was our primary mission. And it wasn't, the congressman didn't really like the Port City Consortium leadership. So the person that was running it wasn't viewed upon by the congressman favorably, and that killed the whole thing, because we need the congressman on that issue. They're saying that the 8-mile extension for the South Shore to Dyer will be $600 million. What you're talking about will be way more than that. To build bridges and to elevate all the lines. Ideally, that's exactly the answer. Get the trains above the cars. But in reality, you think that extension to Dyer is expensive? I bet you it's $1 billion you're talking about.
But the reality is that we've been at this for years. I mean, we know this is an issue, and if we're not going to be able to get anywhere with the train system, then we got to start somewhere. And I'm just saying that maybe it's something that we start looking at, we start pushing for. I mean, if these people were able to get this train line that nobody wants moving south, then what can we do as citizens to start a lobby to start thinking about that? Because it really is affecting us. It's not just the safety, but even just economically. I mean, we've got these large streets that get tied up because of these trains, and it's a huge issue for the economics as well.
The city flag of Hammond, I don't even know when it was made, but it's got a few things on it. It's got a big cow, okay, because we used to have slaughterhouses, and it's got a train, and it's got the Little Red Schoolhouse too. So it probably was made in like, Clerk Oleg, you know when that was made? I didn't know if you were a clerk then. I mean, it's possible.
I'm not going there.
But it's got a train. When? Yeah. It's got a train on there. Hammond was built, if you talk to the trains, they say you built your town around my train line. That's how they look at it, clerk.
I can't tell you this, Mayor. When I was a councilman out here for 21 years, the Norfolk and Southern, that was their old track, it still is. I had a discussion with them, and of course you have to remember, at that time the traffic wasn't nearly as heavy as it is today. They had an agreement that they would not stop the trains during certain hours during the school year, during the school week, and that worked out for a while. But that problem, I've lived here in Hess for over 70 years, and that problem has, always been there, and I probably won't see it to be eradicated. But one of the other things is the principal. In fact, my granddaughter just started school here in first grade. We live on New Hampshire. She's 6 years old, and she's got to cross the tracks to come here rather than at Harding School because of the school district lines.
Good call.
Some of the problems can be eliminated through the school city.
Good call.
If some of those lines were changed. Obviously, that won't eliminate all the problems, but that's one of the things that could be done. And that could be done immediately.
You're right, but that's not under our charge either. That's the school board. But yeah, I agree with you. And quite frankly, downtown Hammond had a lot of the same issues we're talking about right now in Hessville, and what they did in downtown Hammond with the congressman's help wasn't raise all the rail lines, was to raise a bridge over the rail lines. That's an option as well, but the state just redid 169th in that stretch right before I took over as mayor. Just finished it. I took over as mayor. They started at Klein and got all the way over to Kennedy. And I took over as mayor, and we've taken it the rest of the way, west. So to go back to the state and say, hey, we want a bridge here now, they're going to be like, we just built this street, Mayor. Why didn't you tell us you wanted a bridge 12 years ago? But that wasn't under
I think that kind of helps answer my next question. But I mean, I go to other cities and other neighborhoods, other areas, and they have these trains elevated over the tracks, and I just ask myself, and they have less population than us, like by far. How did they get in line?
You mean road over the track?
Yeah, like Valparaiso, for example, they've got a section that's elevated. And maybe we can't elevate the entire train, but maybe strategically in certain places. I'm just trying to understand, how did some people get ahead of us in a line when you're saying it's been like this for 70 years?
Whatever, I'll be honest with you, any of what we're talking about right now is going to have Congressman Pete on board. And if you ask Congressman Pete for any money for trains right now, he's not going to use it on that. He's using his money to get the extension down to Dyer. I appreciate you bringing it up. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. But right now, I think Congressman's focus isn't really on the train problem in Hessville. He wants to create another train line. And quite frankly, we want to make sure there's no freight on that train line also. And that's a point brought up by 4th District Councilman Bill Emerson. Thank you very much for coming by, Bill. Bill brought this issue up on the South Shore debate to the congressman in the city council meeting, and when Bill asked the question, I said, oh, of course there's no freight going to be on the 8-mile extension. Bill said, Congressman, is there going to be freight on that rail line? They were creating it go south through Hammond, down Munster and Dyer, and the congressman said, I can't tell you right now. Maybe, maybe not. And we're like, what? You're going to put freight on this line? I mean, any little support this project had just disappeared when he said that. So this problem may manifest itself, in South Hammond as well, because the Monon is notorious for blocking traffic back in the day. So, and I'd also like to thank Councilman at Large Dan Citelli. Thank you very much for coming to Mayor's Night Out. All right, next question.
Okay, this question is for engineering. What is the estimated timeline for the reconstruction of Kennedy Avenue north of 169th?
North of 169th, we are just completing the other phase, which is 69th down to the Foreman Expressway. North, we are looking to try to submit that project for federal funding. Through the federal fundings, there's a typical time frame for a call out of projects. This hasn't taken place. Normally, Kennedy Avenue, just like the bridges, what you were talking about, that project took about 6 years to get funded. So NERC will fund or ask for a call out of projects. We submit an application, fight for the money, and once it's done, then it gets programmed several years out. So we're looking at early as 3 to 4 or 5 years out.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mark. Dennis Radowski, could you get the microphone? I like to surprise people. This is Dennis Radowski. He's in charge of United Neighborhoods, Inc., which is a not-for-profit run by the city of Hammond. It's a CHODO, but we don't need to get into what a CHODO is. What he does is sell houses in our city. That's his job. He gets paid for it. He is pushing Parish View in Hessville and having some success. So could you talk a little bit, since we're in Hessville, talk a little bit about Parish View in particular?
Parish View is a subdivision located on off 170th and Parish Avenue. And I think we started out with about 28 lots a few years back. When I got involved about 6 years ago, they were selling, and then for a period of time of 3 or 4 years, maybe due to economic conditions, it slowed down a bit. But recently, we are getting to the point where when somebody sees a house under construction in that area, they want to buy it. We've got a very good reputation with the builder that has been building the houses there. And in this past week, we have sold, to give you an idea how things have picked up, we have sold 1 completed house and 2 lots that people want to build using their own builders to build on in that area. And it's going to reduce the number of lots available for sale to, I believe, 9 after these are completed. And we will also start building new construction on 2 other homes. And Mayor, what I think is really unique about the project is when you tell people the prices of the homes that we're selling. The last house we sold was for the appraised value, the list price, no negotiation. This is what we're asking and this is what we want. They bought it for $222,000.
That's great. That's good for comp sales for other residents around our city, right?
Oh, yes, sir.
That's
yes,
good.
sir. In that entire area, Gibson, I mean, that whole area will have nice a nice return on their homes with the sales that we're having. But our intent is to keep the prices between $215 and $225 and continue that type of house in the Hessville area.
Good for you. Thank you. Since we're talking about, so it's interesting to see a demand for properties, which is nice, where people are sort of competing with each other. Phil Talon's got something going right now in Oxbow. Phil, could you talk a little bit about the last 2 remaining parcels and how people are competing with each other?
Sure.
I'm sure everybody's familiar with Oxbow at this point. I know we've talked about it a lot. There's 2 parcels left. There's a 4.6 acre and a 2.6 acre. So what we did is we put it out to the public. We call it request for proposals. And we received, I believe, 4. And actually the price per acre at these parcels has gone up because of all the development that's occurred at that site. So right now, we're actually looking at the 4 proposals, determining what we think would fit best in that development. But one thing we do know for sure is we're going to get paid full price for it. And when we put out this request for proposals, we told everybody, don't ask for incentives. The development is really filled up. It's become a popular development, I believe, in the city. So now we believe that you should pay full price for the property and that you should be able to construct your whatever it's going to be on your own. So it's been very successful. The property has gone up. We've got more development yet to come, and I think most of the people I've talked to in Hessville are pretty excited about it.
So Phil, we bought the River Park apartment complex for $14 million. Now, how much is the Hampton Inn assessed value going to be?
Well, it cost $12.5 million to build, and typically they say it'll assess at about 70% of that. So you could be somewhere in the
10.
Sure.
Okay. Brewery, what do you think about there?
I would say the brewery will assess somewhere in the $2.5 million range.
BW3s?
Also in the $2 million range.
In the commercial 3-story building that's under construction?
That project's $5.5 million all in, so you're probably somewhere in the $4 point some million range.
That's really good math. I don't know if you work these numbers out. It's exactly $20 million. So we took a $14 million piece of property that we bought it for, and right now our assessed value with all the new stuff we have there is $20 million, and we have 2 parcels left to develop. So we've increased the assessed value, we created jobs, but as everybody in here knows, that was a problem for Hessville when I took over as mayor. It's one of the reasons I got elected, and that's why we focused on it, and we got it, and it took a long time to develop, but it's actually really satisfying as a mayor to see what's going on there right now. It makes me feel good. So, thank you, Phil. All right, we did our commercial breaks. Let's jump in, Leanne.
Okay, also a question for engineering. When can new streetlights be put on the streets east of 165th Street, Kennedy to Tennessee?
Do we have a list of the lighting projects in this district? Or?
Yes, actually that's pretty easy. Maryland's being bid out actually next Thursday. That's the only street lighting project in the 6th district. They're actually it's the first time LEDs are going to be placed on from 69th to Vine Street.
On what street?
Maryland.
Okay.
And it's a 3-block area, so that's the first in this district we'll have LEDs. And we're kind of transitioning to the LEDs to save money. Now,
and looks nicer, right?
Yes. They're going to be a softer light. There's a 5000K, which is a bright LED. This is a 3000K. So it should be a softer, sort of like your regular ornamental lights on Kennedy Avenue. Now, the typical protocol is the councilman will get requests, and he'll sit down with us, and we'll go through and see how much money there is, and that's how we design the streets.
Thank you.
And lights.
Right. And in the 6th district, Councilman Hinojosa is, I don't know, I mean, I'm not going to say he checked out, but he's not here tonight, and it's usually the district councilman's here. But we do have the new councilman, being presumptuous, sorry, Scotty, we got to go out and vote November 3rd. But we have the new councilman taking over. I know he's already been in contact with engineering about projects like this. We have money basically waiting for Scotty when he takes over, and he will be looking at projects like this, I'm sure. As mayor, I can tell you these lighting projects are super popular and not very expensive, which is the best part.
That is true. Maryland's approximately $150,000, $50,000.
For how many blocks?
For 3 blocks.
That's crazy.
And on top of that, we're saving approximately 60 to 70% on the energy costs. Our street lighting costs will be down.
To get an idea of what these look like when they're completed, anybody been on Southeastern with the new LED lights over by the Bike Trail Bridge? You know, if you haven't, take a drive on it. It's beautiful. These new LED lights are top notch. So,
Mayor, that's 5,000K. These are going to be a little softer.
Softer. Those are because it's a main drag.
Right.
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 Okay. Thank you. All right. Yeah.
What did
determines what streets get this lighting?
Councilman and engineering, they work together.
Because it seems to me like the lighting is better on the streets that have these
LEDs?
newer lights.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. But it's a combination, you know. If it's a dead-end street, it's probably going to be lower on the priority list than a main drag like Southeastern, for instance. But usually what happens is the council person will get in contact with Mark or Stan, and they'll work through these issues and then reach an agreement, basically. Because in Hammond, the councilmen spend money. We're probably one of the only cities in America where the council person spends money. So technically how it works is the councilman works with engineering, and they reach an agreement to spend money in areas, okay? So Scotty, when he takes over, is going to approach engineering and say, hey, I'm looking at these blocks. What do you guys think? And they're going to say, well, we like these, Scotty, but we don't know about this one over here. And they reach a consensus, and then they go forward and do the job. And quite frankly, it's mostly about funding because they run out of money. That's the problem.
Right. One other comment I like to say. We like to put them on good streets, not streets that need to be reconstructed. Because if that's the case, we just want to do the entire thing at one time. But older streets that years ago was reconstructed, we're going back on those streets and putting them up.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. We had a question over here. I have to go. Yeah. I'll come to you in a second.
Anything going on around where the old Woodmar Shopping Center used to be?
Yeah. Can I get to that when we get off the subject? I'll cover that in a second, okay? Thank you.
We had the street department on Missouri Avenue, 6700 block Missouri. Did they put lines down, blue lines?
Yes.
And they said that they were getting ready for the street lights.
That is the case. They are being designed. The councilman wanted 3 projects, Missouri, Montana, and Maryland. And Maryland's a shorter 3-block area because it goes in the Vine. So we got that out, but we can potentially bid the rest depending upon how much money's left. But they're being designed currently and should be done being designed in November, December, and we can get those out right away.
Thank you. Any questions on this? Okay, I'm going to get to the lady's question about what's going on around Woodmar, the old Walmart. It's empty now. We get this question a lot. We, the city of Hammond, is in the process of acquiring that building. True statement? We're going to be the owners of the old Walmart, and we're going to develop it into a tourist attraction. An attraction for Hammond residents, but also the type of attraction that will draw sports teams from other cities that want to come here and play competitive basketball or competitive soccer, mostly for the winter months. All right, it's going to be something like what they had in Maryville called the Field House. Ours is going to be bigger and better. What we're trying to do is carve ourselves into that niche of AAU travel basketball, travel soccer teams coming to Hammond from all over the Midwest, staying at our hotels, eating at our restaurants, playing in our facility. It'll be like the Shepherd Center, but much bigger and with much more activity than the Shepherd Center. Shepherd Center, when I look at Shepherd Center, it's for you, the residents. This new center we're talking about, of course, Hammond residents are allowed, but we're also marketing ourselves to the region. Okay? But we're in the process of doing that. Can't talk too specifically about costs and all that, but we are working with the federal government on that project. And if that project goes through the way we hope it does, it'll drive those new strip malls that are being built around there, maybe even the old Pizza Hut across the street. I think this is a real positive for that neighborhood. I live right down the street from there, so this project's near and dear to my heart. Thank you for the question, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay, for engineering, possibly police department, traffic turning onto the road to go to Walmart is very bad and dangerous. Why can't traffic coming off of I-80-94 go to a stoplight, which would be safer?
This is the NDOT design intersection. When Cabela's, we're talking about Cabela's intersection, when that was designed, NDOT was all over it. They figured it out, how to make it work. Zero input from City of Hammond.
That actually, the mayor's correct. That was an NDOT-led project. They did meet with us for the drainage and so forth, and
right.
the ditch line.
But as far as the route they take off 8094,
nothing with us.
Right.
It was totally NDOT.
It's a weird intersection. When you're coming from the boulevard to turn into Cabela's, yeah, you got that traffic coming off 8094 that's going faster than you, and it's a dangerous situation, but that was a project done by NDOT, federal money. So Any questions on that should be directed to NDOT. Okay, next question. How we doing? We got a lot left?
Yeah, we still have a healthy stack going, so.
World Series is going on right now, but 0-0 fourth inning. All right, thanks. They got 10 innings left, right?
This question is for engineering and the parks department. Can you provide us with an update on the bike trails in Hessville?
Good question. I can give that. The Hessville, because it has active rail lines, most of our bike trails are rail lines that have been abandoned. Hessville, unfortunately, judging by our questions and problems about the train lines, those lines haven't been abandoned, so we need to get creative. I've been working with Stan on how we would connect up to Hessville so that we could connect you into our bike trail system. And we have initially, just like the master plan was, 73rd all the way out to Klein Avenue Service Road, all the way up basically to Gibson Woods, all the way back out to Kennedy, like a square like that around Hessville. So you would jump on the bike trail and we would loop you into the Erie Lackawanna and the Monon. And basically, our bike trail system, you can go to downtown Chicago and you can go to Crown Point. Either way, relatively seamless. Hessville is in an island right now and we're trying to connect it up. I'm a cyclist. I look at the bike trails every single day. I have a map in permanent ink drawn over the top of the city so I can see the bike trail system, and it's missing. But it's not because we don't love Hessville. It's because they don't have an abandoned rail line. So we're probably going to have to do something. Now, I know a lot of people from Hessville don't get up to North Hammond very often, but we got a project right now going on Sheffield where we took formerly a 4-lane highway, 4-lane street, wasn't a highway, but they drove like it was, and we made it 3 lanes and 1 lane for bike trail. And I'm going to let Mylan, the head of the Port Authority, that's been helping us with this project, talk about that. Mylan? I think almost every department has had to speak today. I'm working on the ones that haven't so far. So
I'll help you with that too.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, the mayor's right. There was a lot of time, effort, and vision, basically by the mayor, that went into planning a lot of the bike trails up in Robertsdale and North Hammond. And one of the goals was to tie in the miles and miles of trails that were created, a lot of it through the RDA project and through the city's efforts to North Hammond. And it's fantastic how this project has taken place along South Sheffield Avenue, south of 129th Street. Take the 4-lane road, and on the east side, now there's a dedicated bike lane just for the bikers, the walkers, the hikers, the kids going from North Hammond to Clark High School.
Right.
And and a lot of them do, a lot of them use it, and it's much safer now. Yep. They're just finishing up that project.
And for cyclists that go north, south across the city on the Erie Lackawanna or the Monon, which is where most cyclists are heading, you're either going towards Chicago or you're going from North Hammond down towards Crown Point. That's the most dangerous part of that trip, was when you get to downtown Hammond, you just sort of get dropped off, and then you got to get to 129th from downtown Hammond, which is about 30 blocks. I've almost been hit a couple times on that stretch. It's a dangerous stretch. They're not used to seeing cyclists come by. So what we're trying to do is get you safely with a dedicated bike path from downtown Hammond to North Hammond, but that wasn't the question. The question was, what are you doing for Hessville? Right now, the conceptual plan is 173rd, 165th would be the east-west connectors. The service road along Klein will be the north-south. It'll be like a square around Hessville, so you could jump on. That's the plan. We've been talked about it. It'll be something similar to what we've done in North Hammond, though, with a dedicated bike lane. I'm a huge believer in this. I want to connect up Hessville. It's a lack of funding. We're going to keep going back to this. The stretch from downtown Hammond on an existing road. You wouldn't think it costs a lot. On an existing road, we're going to take, is it Johnson? Soul Johnson,
yes.
Johnson, get to the bike trail. From basically where the Mohawks is, to 141st,
yes,
to Grand Calumet River, $900,000. And we own the road, but you got to make you got to make it ADA compliant. You got to make it safe. Mark?
That's absolutely correct, because there's going to be a lot of signage and so forth. We're going on the road and off the road. There is another segment from 141st going towards Chicago that was actually funded through NERC, and it was bid out just recently. So it's that one's going to start in.
Yeah, that's the one that's going on the utility right away, right?
Correct.
Right.
And going to East Chicago by Kosciuszko Park.
Kosciuszko.
Park.
Kosciuszko. The one that the statue got sawed down?
Right.
Right.
So maybe if we can get North Fork Southern Railroad to abandon their line.
That's the easiest way to build bike paths,
Right.
is when the railroads abandon the line and we take it over, so.
It would help the traffic and everybody.
Good question. Hey Donna.
Don't forget, for you super bikers, this isn't that huge of a path, but 1.8 miles around Dowling Park.
Thank you.
Open on Friday.
Open on Friday. We have a ribbon cutting. Why don't you go ahead and talk about that?
The path was all you though, Mayor.
Okay.
You promised the neighborhood that you would build it and you did.
Yes,
and
thank
it
you.
will be open. We have a couple of little bridges that go over some water where we need the handrails.
1.8 miles?
1.8, and I've seen a lot of people using it. It's called a recreational path. You can bike, walk, rollerblade, whatever you like. It's gorgeous. Thank you for that.
Great. And the ribbon cutting, could you talk a little bit about that?
The Dowling Park Athletic Complex will be opening as well on Friday. It's open to the public on Friday from 12 to 3. We're going to have a short ribbon cutting ceremony at 1 o'clock, and everyone is welcome to be there.
Okay. Since I'm trying to get everybody to talk, Awana, grab the microphone, please. We have a breakfast coming up Thursday after election. Take the politics out of it, right? Is it Thursday after election?
No, it's tomorrow.
Keep the politics in it, my bad. Tomorrow, yeah. I would have looked at my calendar in the morning, thank you.
It's the 29th annual volunteer award ceremony. It's going to take place tomorrow.
Tomorrow, 8 a.m.
8 a.m.
Where?
At the Dynasty.
I remember one year I went to the Shepherd Center instead of the Dynasty, and I was there right at 8 o'clock, and there was nobody in the parking lot. I was late that year.
Yeah, it's actually going to be fun filled this year. My boss, Phil Talon, and his counterpart, John Besmar, they're going to be MCs, and they told me a little bit about some things that's going to happen. So I encourage you, if you don't have your tickets, I still have some, and you can just meet me there in the morning. I'll be there around 7:15. So if you want to meet me there, please do.
So Phil is the MC. How did this happen?
I forget how much I paid Awana, but it was significant.
Phil, you want to give us a little sample?
Well, no, we're going to have, the volunteer breakfast is fun every year because, these are the people in your community that you just admire and you respect because they're giving of their time, for things that they don't have to. They're not getting paid for it. So I think everybody looks forward to this event every year. I know we're going to have a little fun with it tomorrow to keep it lively. And no, I can't share anything today because that would give it away. So
Okay.
you have to show up tomorrow.
Cool. All right, thanks, Phil. Looking forward to it. Tomorrow, 8 a.m. I'll be there. Thank you. All right.
Mayor, while we're on the topic of volunteering, I do have a question for you. Hess School has an open library in the summer, and someone wants to know if you would be willing to come and read to the children on a Wednesday morning.
Yeah, I do it all the time. I go to schools during the school year, obviously, once or twice a week. I'm always in a school. Yesterday I was in St. Cas. I've been to every school in Hammond multiple times. Usually I do it in the invitation of the school. I don't call up and say, hey, can I come read to kids? That'd be a little creepy. So they call me up usually. They call me up usually, and then we set it up. You would go through Eva, who's my assistant, and we never say no. Sometimes we can't do it on that particular day, but we never, ever say no. So I would love to. It's a long-winded answer. Okay? Next question.
Great. This question is for code enforcement.
Okay, Kelly?
The property on 165th and Kennedy Avenue, it's not listed, but it's asking a status. I don't know who asked that.
Is it the old Brothers Stew?
Oh.
Mayor?
Phil?
We actually just recently closed on that property. And interestingly enough, we purchased that property with proceeds from money that when we sold property at Oxbow Landing. So just another way where that development has really helped with other things in Hessville as well. But we purchased it we closed on it 2 weeks ago. We actually started looking at it probably more like 6 months ago. And part of the reason we were looking at it is because I heard from a lot of people from Hessville that they wanted some sort of coffee shop in the area. And while we're in the process of starting to talk to the owner and figure out a price. Lo and behold, a Dunkin' Donuts is going to locate in Hessville at the old Clark Station on Kennedy Avenue, which I know a lot of people are excited about. I'm a huge Dunkin' Donuts guy. I go every morning, so I think this is going to be great for Hessville. But as far as the Brothers 2 building, we're going to demolish it. It's way too close. You know, one of the things when you're in Hammond, because we're a 125-year-old community, the planning was a little different back then than it is now. So when you talk about like things going on in Valparaiso or other places, they learned from older communities who did it a little differently back then. So we're going to demolish the building and we're going to create a new development. We don't know what's going to be there yet. We're going to open it up. We're going to put have a national realtor look for businesses that would like to locate there. But I can tell you this, the building's going to look nice, the landscaping is going to be great, and when it's all said and done, I think you're going to be proud that it's a new development in Hessville.
I've had some complaints lately. I mean, most people are happy that we're taking charge of that project. I've had some complaints about, hey, why don't you guys try to fix the building up instead of knocking them down? Is this building in any kind of shape to be fixed up? Or?
The real issue is the way it was designed. It's broken out into, there's a lot of different apartments in there. There's different sections where you can, yes, there was a bar at one time, and I know we had a flea market. But nowadays, when you're putting a sign up and you're asking businesses to potentially locate in a property that's obviously the building's already there, it's very difficult because they're trying to cram something into a space that was made for something completely different many years ago. So sometimes that works, and I promise you, we always try and redevelop properties. If a building is salvageable and it makes sense, we'll fix it up and we'll bring a business in. This one, if we did that, if we kept Brothers 2, it would either cost millions of dollars to get it to the point that potentially it would be suitable for a new business to move in there. And in this case, it just makes more sense. It's more efficient to knock it down and let someone come in and start brand new.
Kurt Kirk is our building commissioner in the city. Kurt, have you been through this building?
Yeah, I've been through it on a number of times.
Power.
Been through it a number of times. It's actually very antiquated. It doesn't meet any of the current standards whatsoever. It would cost far more. I mean, far more to try to bring that up to standards and to tear it down and start from scratch. And even if you did, the usage of it isn't really conducive to the neighborhood. I mean, with all the little apartments that are in there, the storefront is broken up into three separate units. It's just not conducive to anything that would be a benefit to the Hessville area at all.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's go to the next question.
This question is for the building department. The former Hanson Library on Martha Street, what is the status?
That would be me again.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. That property is owned by the Redevelopment Commission. We did put out what's called an RFP, which I talked about before, a request for proposals. We did have one submission, which is from what used to be called the Hessville Business Association, which is now called HC3, and I know I'll mess up the name if I try and say it properly. And I see Jocelyn Prue is over here. We did receive a submission, so we are talking to HC3 about the reuse of that property. It is a little challenging because it's really street parking. There is a parking lot right across the street that is a public parking lot that can be used by anybody. So in the end, hopefully HC3 and redevelopment can work something out and it can become a benefit to Hessville.
Thanks, Bill. Okay, let's keep on cruising.
Okay. I don't want to get this one wrong.
We obviously have no Royal or Met fans in the room, so let's
what happened with the court hearing on the house on the 3300 block of 165th Street in Hessville?
Court hearing of the...
I don't know if that's a code issue or...
You know what this...
Are we talking about the house with the side all broken out, the foundation that's bad?
I have the address, I just don't know if I should...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the one that's right on the corner. It is on the demolition list. It was a firm for demolition. The current owners did sign a rehabilitation agreement and did not live up to it. I believe it's set for hearing next month, Chris, for the final hearing in December 3rd. And after that, it would be torn down very, very shortly.
We do, when we have demolition situations, we do dozens and dozens and dozens a year, if not more. And we do try to give the owner of the property a chance to rehabilitate the property. And we make reasonable accommodations for them. How long do we typically give them, Kurt? If they say, hey, I know some people have totally rehabilitated their property and gotten
Oh, sure, quite a bit. I mean, it's always in the city's best interest to have a property that's rehabbed and paying taxes than a vacant lot that Kelly's got to send people over to mow every week. So we work to get them. I think we've had 40 of them in the past year that have rehabbed them. Even some areas that are not that great, but they've rehabbed the homes as opposed to having us tear them down. So we try to give them every benefit that we can, but there just reaches a point that we have to exercise the due diligence in eliminating it. Now that particular house is very, very nice on the main floor. You know, I've been in it several times. Virtually nothing wrong with the main floor, but it had a foundation problem and collapsed, and for some reason they've never taken it upon themselves to fix. So ultimately, come December, it'll have to come down.
All right. Is this the last question?
No.
Oh, okay. It's getting close. It looks real thin.
Yes. This question is for the sanitation department.
Okay.
Could there be
sanitary district or sanitation?
Well, how about I read
We'll
it?
find
You guys
out.
will help me because I seem to know I'm a little bit off. Could there be any way to minimize or do away with the fee charged for garbage pickup? I know the neighbor cities, such as EC and Gary, do not charge for garbage pickup. I personally throw just one bag a week away, and I live alone. I'm sure a lot of senior citizens do that as well.
The fee that you're charged doesn't cover the cost of the service. We take a loss on that. When I took over as mayor, we did an analysis. We paid $5 a month at that point, and we did an analysis on how much it actually costs to pick up your garbage. And we would have to charge you at that time, it was like $13 a month. So I'm a brand new mayor, and I said, so why don't we charge $13? If it actually costs $13 to pick it up, why are we charging the residents only $5? Because then the residents think that's all it costs to give us our garbage, and that's not the case. So what happens in Gary and East Chicago, where they're charging you $0, is they're pushing all that cost onto your property taxes, and they're raising that part. You're paying it, you're just not paying the monthly fee. You're paying it though. They still have to pay the cost just like we do. We charge you what it costs to collect it, salary-wise, truck-wise, and put it in the landfill. And I think we're pretty close to breaking even now. Is Marty in here? Rachel. Hey, what's up, Rachel? Are we pretty close to breaking even? Oh, what am I talking about? It's not with them anymore.
We're pretty close. It costs about $6 million to run that department, and we're generating about $5 in revenue.
Okay. So we're getting closer. But when I took over, it was, I apologize, Rachel. It used to be run by the sanitary district. We recently took it back from the city. But that charge doesn't cover the cost yet. So, I mean, so we do push a little bit on the property taxes. Now, I think the questioner was more angling towards maybe for senior homes, a cheaper rate. Seen other communities do that. I've been told that's illegal. And we do things for seniors, by the way, in Hammond. In fact, we just got done with the senior rebate program. Can you talk a little bit about that, Heather?
If you qualify for a senior or disabled tax credit, we get that list from the county, and we send back the rebate checks to the seniors, and that just occurred a couple weeks ago. We always plan for about $1 million in our budget. This year came in around $860,000, and that changes throughout the next few months. We have a lot of questions about why I'm not on the list coming to the office, and it's because you're not signed up properly on your tax exemption with the county. So we always direct you there, but if you have any issues with if it's going to the wrong person, sometimes it's going to a trust, we can help you out with that. The maximum you can receive is $500, and we have a lot of individuals who receive that. We had about, I think it was 2,300 seniors receive a check this year.
Thank you. $870,000. So, all right. Yes, sir.
Just FYI on the garbage issue, Chicago City Council just passed the new budget for the city today, and they now have a $9.50 fee per month.
$9.50? Bet you that doesn't cover the total cost.
Which
either.
I don't think they ever had a fee before.
Right, right. But the thing is, you have to understand though, like I was saying, we could charge, well, if we charge you $0, it would just, the cost would shift over to another part. We'd still have to pay the cost. So what we were doing when I took over as mayor is we were fooling you, making you think it only costs $5 a month to collect your garbage, when in fact, at that time, it was closer to $13 a month. So like I said, I was naive. I said, well, why don't we charge $13 a month? And at the time, the council didn't support that, but we've gotten through that. And that was a long time ago. So, all right.
While we are on the topic...
Oh, we have a question on garbage? Okay. Go ahead and start asking it. She'll be there, right in the corner. Leanne.
It's now to $21 a month?
Uh-huh. I don't know if that's exactly what it is or not.
Well, I'm getting charged $42 for 2 months.
Do you live in a duplex?
No, it's a house.
Do you have 2 water meters?
No.
Isn't that how it's driven? Could you do me a favor? Heather, raise your hand. Could you approach Heather after the meeting and we'll try to look it up and see what we could do? Because you're being overcharged. Okay?
Or you don't have to pick my garbage out. I mean, can we have that option?
What's that? No.
To not pick up the garbage?
No. That's not in public. Because then everybody would say, no, don't pick up my garbage, and we'd have garbage everywhere. So to live in the city, that's part of living in the city.
Okay.
Thank you, though. Yeah. There you go. That makes sense. $21 a month, bi-monthly, you get billed. That makes sense. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. All right.
On the topic of the sewer and water department, what is the status of the contracts with Munster, Griffith, et cetera?
We're in a huge lawsuit. We're being sued by Whiting, Highland, and Griffith, ultimately over the cost of the basin that we built on Columbia Avenue. Those that haven't seen it, it's a $50 million project that you paid for and Munster residents. But Whiting sends us water, Highland sends us water, Griffith sends us water, and when we overfill, the water goes into the basin. It's their water just as much as your water, but just you paid the bill, $50 million. So we took a stand and said, everybody, we're one region, that's the big push, we should all regionally pay for this improvement, this $50 million improvement. By the way, the big one's coming. The big one's coming. You think $50 million for the Grand Cow was bad? Wait till you see the price tag the EPA is going to expect from us for the Little Calumet River. So it's important for us to fight this out because of the $50 million we've already spent. Maybe we can get a portion of that paid by the customer communities that also send water to us. But when they come to the big project, that's when it's going to be real important. It's a complicated case. It's an expensive case. I don't like being sued. I don't like being in class action lawsuits. I don't like being the only city that's defended. We're being sued by everybody. But we're fighting for you because we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. And that is not a Mayor McDermott exaggeration. Hundreds of millions of dollars. They're coming. The bad guys in this is the EPA, in my opinion. They're out of control. They are unrealistic. They have no regard for your wallet. And they're coming. And they're going to want big numbers down there. 150 million or more. And you think the trash fee is bad. When we start having a bond for $150 million because of a federal project, ultimately that's going to work its way down to our bills. So it's real important that Whiting, Highland, and Griffith participate in this fee. They're sending water to us and they're part of the problem. That's what the whole case is about. And we're in a weak bargaining position because we have a contract that was created even before the EPA was around that we're relying on. So Whiting says, hey, look, it says I don't have to pay anything in this contract. Created in 1960, renewed in 1990s. I've never had even a chance to sign off on this. It's been around for so long. But yet, they expect Hammond residents to pay for everything. It's a bad case. And quite frankly, I had a really great relationship with Whiting. I had. It's hard to have a good relationship in a case like this because I think they're being not neighborly, completely unrealistic and unfair to Hammond, and we've been very good to them, to Whiting in particular. Highland has major issues. I think ultimately they're going to have to settle and work a deal out with us. Griffith, they may go their own way. I don't know. But this is a big-time case. And it's important that we win, and I hope we win, but we may not. And if we don't, you know, it's just not really fair to us. It's not even in our best interest to take customer communities' water anymore. Maybe we just cancel these contracts. Well, which is what we tried to do, but maybe when they naturally expire, we just say, Whiting, go your own way. Get your own water, deal with the EPA yourself. I just don't think it's neighborly. And quite frankly, I can't really feel good about our customers right now because I don't feel good about them. I think they're unfair. And it's not fair to you. And that's why we're in this humongous lawsuit. And it's expensive, it's not fun, but it's important. Kevin, I saw you walk in. You mind saying something about this? Kevin's one of the attorneys representing the city.
Thanks, Mayor. Just came from Councilman O'Pinker's fundraiser, which was very nice. But as far as the lawsuit goes, where it stands is that, as the mayor said, it's a tough situation. It's up on appeal, as the mayor stated, and we're hoping. I guess as I sit here tonight, I can't say that we have a great chance of winning before the Supreme Court, but there's a chance. If we do that, we're in a good position. We can cancel the contracts. If we don't, we're in a situation where we have to go to arbitration and can hopefully get some advantages from those contracts. But as the mayor stated, we have a very good position against Highland. Our position against Griffith is so-so, and our position against Whiting is what it is. But I think as the mayor stated, and this is the important part, it's an unfair position that these customer communities have put all of you in. And that's the thing that's most important. And what you need to know is the mayor's fighting for you, and he's fighting for the city. And that's why he's pushed it so hard. It's not a great legal position to be in, but the mayor wasn't going to just roll over and say to the customer communities, go ahead, you can keep your unfair contract to the detriment of every taxpayer in the city of Hammond. And so for that reason, I think it's important that the mayor did fight this fight, and we'll see what the Supreme Court says. And we'll go from there.
Especially in Whiting's case, it really irks me because I see Ed Cruza sitting across the table, Hammond Water Company. Ed Cruza, we made a deal with Whiting on fresh water, dug a trench to them, and give them our precious commodity, water. We make millions of dollars off of water, and we voluntarily give it to Whiting. We don't make anything. We lose money by sending water to Whiting. So they have no problem taking the perks from Hammond, but when a situation comes up and the EPA gives us a $50 million bill, they're like, hey, I got a contract protects us. It's not very neighborly. And I'm irked, I'll be honest with you. I don't really look at the same way at that community in particular, because I know what Ed Cruza went through. You dug a, how long was that trench you had to dig? To connect our system up to there. And we didn't have to do that. And by the way, because we sell water to Whiting, that's thousands and thousands of gallons less that we could sell in Illinois. And by the way, last time I checked, we're making a mint off of every gallon we sell in Illinois. So selling Whiting water and just giving it to them for free and then watching them turn around and sue us, it burns me up. It still burns me up. And it's been a couple of years. I still get visibly angry when I talk about this. It's not a fair situation, and it's only going to get worse because the EPA is unrealistic. And they're really unrealistic. And by the way, so I'm at Pulaski Park Neighborhood Association last night. The EPA is there doing a presentation, and somebody asked me this question, and I'm like, but I gave them the same speech I'm giving you right now, right in front of the EPA. And I was sweating a little bit, though, I'll be honest with you. So, all right.
Okay, this next question is for planning and development.
How many questions do we have left?
4.
Okay.
Well, 3 and a comment. So,
Okay.
What is the progress of the Starbucks?
It's coming.
Mark doesn't want me to talk, apparently. Obviously, there was a group that purchased the building. They were looking at a business called Charter Fitness. And as part of that, there was going to be other retail opportunities there that they were putting a sign up trying to look for other companies. Unfortunately, the numbers apparently have not worked for this project. The group that owns the building is sitting on it.
Starbucks.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it said Stardust.
What's the score of the baseball game, Phil? Come on.
The Royals are up. No, I have no idea. All right, let's start over. Maybe I should have let Brian talk.
Is this part of tomorrow's act, Phil?
Yeah. The Starbucks we're very excited about, so this is completely different. I'm glad you asked about that. The Starbucks, obviously, you saw a sign went up just recently. It's going to be a new development. It's right there in front of what I call the old Kmart. We call it Gateway Promenade, right across the street from Cabela's. The mayor has been talking about, with a city of 80,000 people, that we should have had a Starbucks here a long time ago. And so we've always been pushing to get a Starbucks to Hammond, and finally we succeeded. So it's going to begin in spring of 2016. I would imagine it wouldn't take that long to construct. I would think it would be open by fall of 2016. So.
And Phil, I know the Starbucks in Cal City, I think it's going to be similar to that. The way we were talking about it is it'll be Starbucks on one end with a drive-through and a couple other retail establishments next to it, right?
Correct, and that's why they put the sign up, because they're still looking for other retail tenants.
So typically, I know a lot of times I go to Starbucks 2 or 3 times a day, but they usually have like a GameStop, a vitamin store, things like that next to the Starbucks. So that's good. It's going to be right there at the old Burger King, right across from the White Castle and the Aldi's, across the boulevard from Cabela's. Coming, we're happy. I won't have to go to the Starbucks in Comfort Inn or wherever that is, right?
Yes, Courtyard. I always used to fight with the mayor because there's a Starbucks in Courtyard, and it's open 24 hours. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but it's only, they only serve like 6 drinks or something, but still, it's a Starbucks.
So when Phil comes walking out of the Courtyard at 2 in the morning, he was getting Starbucks, okay? So,
usually headed to Stardust,
This question is for engineering. Is it possible to put in a left turn lane at 171st and Kennedy Avenue?
Off of 171st?
It says 171st and Kennedy.
heading like south on the Kennedy, I imagine, right?
South on Kennedy.
Yeah, from 171st. It's a Willard Morton coming from one side.
Morton, right, Morton Middle.
Morton Elementary. And then from the other side, it's like 2 buildings. It's really skinny there. I doubt we could.
Right. Basically, that was reconstructed, and they did do a traffic study there. I don't think there's enough room for a left turn signal or a left turn lane in that particular area.
All right. All right. It's pretty tight. I know coming from, if you're pointing west and turning south onto Kennedy, there's 2 buildings, if I remember correctly, that are pretty tight. I don't know if we'd have room for another lane in there, but we could take a look at it. Could you write it down? Maybe.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Turn lane at Orchard. Turn lane at Orchard, yeah. Well, you mean 173rd. You mean 173rd, right? Orchard and.
You got one there on the other side going into the credit union. So
right.
Why not have one at the stop and go light at 171st? It's just paint. You don't have to have a couple of parking spots there, and you can have a turn lane there.
Okay, let's take a look at it.
I'll tell you what, in the morning at 8 o'clock,
Turning
when
left.
the teachers are going to school.
You're saying to go south on Kennedy, or to go north on Kennedy?
Going north on Kennedy.
So you're going east on 71st, taking a left to go north on Kennedy.
What it is, they're turning west on 171st to go to the school right there, the
Gotcha.
teachers and whatnot.
Gotcha.
So
and they're blocking it.
it really gets to be a mess.
Okay. I appreciate you bringing it up. We'll take a look at it, okay? It's right down the street from my house, 171st. I'm on the other side of the railroad tracks, but, all right, last question. Last
Question and comment.
All right.
This question is for the Parks Department. We currently need more practice fields for Little League and washroom facilities. What can be done about that?
Are we talking about just the Hessville area?
Yes. Practice fields for Little League.
We have.
They have a beautiful Little League field, but the gates are chained. The kids can't practice.
But that's more a Little League decision. Like in this case, it'd be Hessville Little League.
No, I mean, we got parks.
Right.
Okay, the college is putting in the great big thing there at, what is that, Dowling Park?
Yeah, but.
Okay, but on the east end of that park is a kiddie football field.
Right.
In each corner there, if we put a backstop up there, we could get 2 to 4 teams in there practicing. These kids have no place to practice, and then when they do get on a field there, there's no washroom facilities there, so the coaches and the team moms will say, just go behind the tree over there. Especially at the one where the firehouse is there on 165th. There's that little park right next there. There's a backstop there, and if we could put one just like kitty corner from there,
Okay.
we could have a couple of teams there, but you need portalets or something there. You need some kind of washing facility.
Okay. What about, what's that old Edgewood? Wedgewood. That area over there is an area that's owned by the city now. I know it's a baseball field, so that's the area as well. But no, I believe I'm a baseball coach. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
You just need backstops or something there because
Okay.
they said that their insurance won't let them practice where there's not a backstop.
Okay.
You know.
All right. Thanks for bringing that up.
Just so you know, there's one at Gibson, there's one at Frommer. Those are available. The one at Harding is belongs to the school city.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Just to expound on this point, I was a Little League coach for Hesville Little League years ago, and we used to we used to practice on those fields.
Which ones?
The ones that the gentleman was talking
Over
about.
by Harding School?
Yeah, no, over by
Dowling Park?
Over by Dowling Park.
Okay, where the Viper spray?
Right, exactly. Well, the reason we stopped practicing there was because one of the problems was drainage. Whenever it rained, the kids would be standing in ankle deep
Yeast is a
water.
huge problem out there too.
You know, so that's one of the reasons why we stopped. Now I understand his, wanting to get, but it's going to take a whole lot more than just putting a backstop. It's going to be during the drainage problem and everything else.
Okay. Well, thank you for bringing it up.
This is a comment from the Hessville Commerce and Community Creative, or the HC3, Kelly Voris and Jocelyn Prue. The Hessville, or the HC3, would like to thank Phil Talon, Africa Tarver, Ann Anderson, Gabriela Gallegos, as well as Donna in the Parks Department, Streets Department, as well for their support over the summer during our festivals. We also want to invite the community to our next HC3 meeting here in Hessville this Thursday night at 5:30 at the Knights of Columbus. The reception is free and open to the general public.
Thank you very much. And did you have one last question, ma'am? Sure.
Can you possibly give us an idea of what you plan on doing?
Thanks. I'm running for mayor November 3rd. That's it. I mean, I'm not trying to make light, ma'am. When I get called by a reporter and they say, Mayor, we hear rumor you're running for senator, you're running for governor. What do you have to say? Do you want to be a senator or governor? I said, yeah, one day I wouldn't mind running statewide. I wouldn't mind. I think I could add a lot. That doesn't mean I'm doing it in 2016. That doesn't mean I'm doing it in 2017. I mean, the race I'm running right now is in Hammond. And quite frankly, I've been really focused and talking about November 3rd. I was getting phone calls from a statewide reporter about 2 hours ago, and I didn't even answer his call because I could just see me saying something along those same lines. He runs a statewide article, and then everybody in Hammond saying, what the heck's going on here, Mayor? So I can tell you, I have no plans to run statewide at this point. It's intriguing. I think there's people that would support me, but right now I'm focused on being Mayor of Hammond, and I love this job. I'm running again, and if I get elected, I'll be honored to be the longest serving mayor in the history of the city. That means a lot to me. Well, I'm also ambitious and young, but I can tell you one thing about running statewide. I have a little boy at home. I have two little boys. I have one little boy in college and one little girl that teaches at Morton High School, okay? But my son, Patrick, is 10 years old. He wants me to coach his baseball teams. He wants me to go to his games. He wants me to be a dad, just like I was for everybody else. And being Mayor of Hammond allows me to do that. And that's important to me. Because when I was in the Navy, I didn't get to watch my little girl grow up. I came back and she was 2 years old. And she knew how to walk and talk, and I miss all that. So to watch my kids grow up means a lot to me. If I ran statewide, I'd miss a lot of that. I'd be gone a lot. I wouldn't be able, you know. So I'm not shy when a reporter calls me, but I'm not going statewide. I'm not going to the meetings. I'm not in Evansville and Fort Wayne, places I should be if I was running statewide. I'm in Hammond. I'm in Head School. Thank you. I appreciate it. I love this job. And by the way, without these guys, my job would be impossible. I am very, very blessed to have excellent department heads that live in the city of Hammond and care about the city of Hammond. And like I was saying with the chief earlier, if there's a problem in Hammond that we ignore, that would just be dumb, because he lives here just like I live here. Why would you ignore a problem? So I appreciate the question. I'm being as honest as I can. Maybe one day I will run for higher office. And I promise you, though, if I do, Hammond is my home. This is if I was in a position, let's say I did become a governor or a senator, that wouldn't hurt this city at all. We would have Pine Avenue big, like January 1st, they'd be going there. So, thank you, Hessville, Hess School.
Mayor?
Yeah.
Just one last thing. Everybody remember it. We set the clocks back this weekend to change your batteries in your smoke detectors and your CO detectors.
Thank you. Also, we have a Veterans Parade coming up. Come out and support the annual Veterans Parade on Saturday, November 7th at 10 a.m. And it's going to go from Alcott Avenue and 173rd right down to Hessville Park. Okay? Come out and support your veterans. We have a lot of bands. We have a lot of people participating this year. And one last time, I would like to say thank you to Leanne Munoz on a great run as a special events coordinator, employee for the city of Hammond. She's done an excellent job. Can we give her a big round of applause?
Thank you.
This is the last Mayor's Night Out of the year. It's probably the 6th inning by now, so we can all go home and watch the World Series. Have a nice day, everybody. Thank you.